Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Welcome to the cult, everyone. Happy Friday. Well, you know what Friday is at the cult. We've made it through another week, and now it's time to kick up our feet, have a couple of tasty, tasty beverages, relax as much as we possibly can as we make our way through a woke training in its full form from start to finish. That's what we do on happy hours for Fridays. We actually watch the real trainings that the woke left does in their organization, in schools, out to families, their podcasts, and we watch the entire thing. We watch the boring bits, we watch the cringy bits, because the only way that you can really understand what the woke left is doing is by sitting your butt down and watching the full context. Because I promise you, when you see these clips on Libs of TikTok, just, fine, I guess. It's a good entryway. When you see these videos that are clipped out of context and posted all over Twitter, you might get one impression of what the woke left is doing. But I promise you, it's so much worse. It's so much worse than what you think it is. And happy hours on Fridays is why my community and the people who attend happy hour regularly, and I'm not making this up, this is serious, the people who attend happy hour on a regular basis know more about what is going on with the woke left and their takeover of the institutions and the cultural war that they have started and propagated in our country. They know more about it than pretty much everyone on the planet. I firmly believe this. We know more than the pundits. We know more than the so-called experts. We're about 2 years ahead of where Peter Boghossian is in terms of how he's thinking about what the left is doing. And the reason that we are so far ahead of everyone else is because once a week, or twice a week if you attend Socialism Saturday on Saturdays, we sit our butts down and we actually watch it. Because the only way you can really learn this stuff is by doing the work, consuming it. Do we know more than Tim Pool? We know so much more than Tim Pool. And isn't it sad? Tim Pool's been covering this stuff for way longer than I have. Tim Pool was out streaming these protests. Tim Pool should know what's going on. But sadly, we are years ahead of where Tim Pool is in his thought process now. Perhaps someday he will catch up to us, and that would be great. But for now, we really do have to carry the banner. And guys, guess what? Who finds the best woke trainings on the internet? I'm just gonna give myself, it's Carlin pats herself on the bat day. Who finds you guys the best woke trainings on the internet? The trainings that no one else has watched. The ones on these little rinky-dink YouTube channels that have maybe 100 subscribers that no one's ever heard of. Who finds you guys the best trainings on the internet? I will take some answers in the chat if you would like to see what we're watching today, because I'm very proud of myself for this one. This is going to go down in the books as a banner day for happy hour. That would be me, James Jones, because I love you guys so much and I appreciate you so much. I find you the very best, unwatched, first time you're ever going to see it on this channel before conservative influencers steal my video and claim that they were the ones who found it, Odin's man, which happens all the bloody time. So, what I found for you today, you guys are going to be so excited. This is on a YouTube channel called Wayside Youth and Family Support Network. Let's just take a look and see what this is. Wayside Youth, hang on, like get into their about section. 51 subscribers. Wayside Youth and Family Support Network provides a wide variety of mental health counseling and family support services to children, young adults, and families across the state of Massachusetts. Wayside's mission is empowering children, young adults, and families to achieve greater independence and emotional well-being. Well, how did Wayside Youth and Family Mental Health Services decide to do that? Well, this was uploaded to the internet 2 days ago. This already has more views on Happy Hour than it actually has on the channel it was uploaded to. They only have 31 views on this. And do you know who's in this training? I'm going to give you a little preview of who is conducting this training. Give you a little preview. Oh, Jeffrey. Oh, Jeffrey. We haven't seen Jeffrey in a minute, have we? Oh, what's this about? Wayside Family Services, Youth and Family Mental Health Counseling. Why do we have Jeffrey Marsh on this YouTube channel? Well, let us see. Wayside Training Institute. Queer self-love, teaching positive identity experiences and affirming transgender / non-binary practice with the one, the only, Jeffrey Marsh. And even though this training was just uploaded to YouTube 2 days ago, which is why no one else on the internet has found it yet, except for me, you're welcome. This was back in November 2nd in 2022. So it is it's about 7 months old, but it just got uploaded on the internet. Nothing we can do about that 7-month time frame. We can just enjoy it for what it is. Who's happy? Who's ready for a good happy hour? Who's ready for a banner happy hour? Who's ready for Odin's Men to start stealing my video midstream? Someone keep an eye on Odin's Man's Twitter account. And the reason I say this is last time I found an obscure Jeffrey Marsh training that no one had ever watched before. I found it completely by accident on like a random YouTube channel from like 5 years ago. And no one had ever watched this training until I streamed it for happy hour. And then in the middle of the happy hour stream, Odin's man mysteriously finds the exact same training, and 20 minutes after I say something in the video, he mysteriously has a clip up of the same thing, saying the same thing I was in the video. It was almost like Odin's man was watching my happy hour stream and just decided to steal all of my Jeffrey Marsh shit right out from under me. I mean, it's public on the internet. He's welcome to go do his own homework. And then people are going to read like, was he really stealing? You were streaming it on the internet. Well, he didn't bother to find that training at 2 a.m., did he? So I'm just saying, someone keep an eye on Odin's man during the presentation. Let's just make sure that he's not stealing my shit again, okay? I think I shamed him sufficiently last time, but like that's just like a foul man so far as I'm concerned. Anyway, guys, we are going to get into Jeffrey Marsh presentation about queer self-love given through an organization that provides mental health services for children. We're going to get into that in just one second, but I do just want to remind everyone, if you are not yet subscribed to my Substack, now is a great time to do it. You can subscribe for free over at Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Substack is my main content hub on the internet. Substack is a place where I write and break down the woke ideology. I keep you up to date on current woke news. Right now, I'm talking a lot about Barbie, apparently, because the conservative right has decided to completely misinform their audience about what woke means. And that's something I've been talking about all week, so I won't bore you guys with the details of that. You can go back and watch the previous streams, but suffice it to say that I am now thoroughly convinced that the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh are explicitly trying to misinform their audience in order to rile them up for clicks and to make money, because they have no understanding of what woke is at all in any way. And so that's being covered on the Substack. I've got some more stuff going up this week, but the most important thing that you need to know about the Substack is the current price to sign up for the premium version of my Substack, which gives you access to premium articles, a premium podcast that I do. It gives you access to special supporter perks, like 2 Zoom calls every single week, 2 private unrecorded Zoom calls that you can attend on Monday and Wednesday. It gives you access to the supporter Discord, where we do movie night every single week. We are watching Black Hawk Down on Sunday at 8 p.m., which is a special shout out to Nick Incognito in the chat, who has been a faithful supporter for years now. And so we are playing Black Hawk Down by special request from Nick for Nick's birthday. So happy birthday, Nick. We're thrilled to be able to have a special movie night just for you. And that's going to be on Sunday at 8 p.m. You get access to all sorts of exclusive perks when you do sign up as a paying supporter on my Substack or on my locals or my Patreon. You can sign up in other places too, but the Substack is my main content hub. And so that's where I'm encouraging everyone to sign up for now. And for like 3 more days, only like 3 more days, today, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday is the last day that you are going to be signing up as a paying supporter on my Substack for $5 a month or $50 a year, because I am raising the prices on my Substack to $8 a month or $80 a year. The reason I'm doing this is right now I am not in line with where creators on Substack are charging, and I don't want to be below everyone else, okay? I just think that's fair. I put a lot of content on my Substack, man. I work really hard on my Substack. I think that is more than a fair price for $8 a month or $80 a year, particularly when other people are charging that do way less than I do. So the prices are going to be going up on Monday. And yes, Bot, I'm going to be adjusting them in locals and on Patreon as well. So the prices everywhere are going to be going up, but like the Substack is the main one. And if you sign up as a paying supporter before I raise the prices, and this is true on all the platforms, if you sign up as a paying supporter before Tuesday, then you will be grandfathered in to the current price. So now is the last chance you have to sign up for $5 a month or $50 a year. And it's not like a huge increase or anything to go from $5 to $8, but it's going to make a difference for me. And so if you want to wait until after that, you're more than welcome to. But if you sign up now, you're going to be saving yourself either $3 a month or $30 a year. So if you want to support my work, if you've been waiting for an excuse, I'm now giving you an excuse because it's going to cost you more on Tuesday. All right. And I do greatly appreciate it. Want to bait Odin's men? No, just leave him alone. Leave that jackass alone. I don't really care. I just don't want him stealing my stuff. Yes, and everyone who is currently signed up as a paying supporter is grandfathered in to the old prices, so you guys are all set. But if you lapse or something like that, then you're gonna have to sign up for the new price, and that's just the way it goes, folks. That's just the way it is. Another way you can support my work if you feel so inclined is by heading over to the Unwoke Art merchandise store. That is unwokeart.com. I'm sorry, some of the coolest merchandise in the space right now. I really do believe that. And so one of the highlights that I have right now is the All Tears Are Tasty design, and specifically the All Tears Are Tasty tumbler, because we don't just drink liberal tears or leftist tears on this channel. Unlike the Daily Wire, we drink everyone's tears. I make everyone on the internet cry. I actually make people on the right cry far more than I make people on the left cry, which is, ridiculous in and of itself, but it's the way it goes. And so to commemorate all of the tears that I have helped be shed into the world, we have the All Tears Are Tasty design. I've heard the tumbler looks great. A couple people have already ordered the tumbler, and I've gotten great feedback on it. But you can also get it on stickers, mugs, magnets, hoodies, t-shirts, etc., etc., etc. And it just is so cool. I'm so happy with this design. And then I've actually sold a couple items out of the Subversive series now, and I'm really excited about people's response to that so far. The Subversive series is a new series of merch that I've launched that is specifically meant to be worn out in the world, whether it's a hat or a sticker or a bag or a t-shirt. And the whole point of the Subversive series of merchandise is I want to subvert how the woke left is capturing language. And so these merch pieces specifically are intended to be conversation starters for people that are not like us, that are not obsessed with this stuff like us, to learn the language. So for example, the whiteness means capitalism design. If you wear this out into the world, again, whether that's on a t-shirt or a bag or a hat or something like that, you are going to be asked by people, what the hell do you mean by that? And guess what's going to happen? Then you have a chance to have a conversation. Well, the whiteness and white supremacy, it's not really about your skin color. It's about destabilizing things and disrupting things to overthrow capitalism. And people are going to look at you like you have three heads. They are. They look at me like that all the time. It's cool. It's cool. But the point is that you're planting a seed. You are being an active participant in creating the culture that the right claims to want. And so these are the designs that I have. I'm really proud of them. Whiteness means cap. That hat is so cool. I'm getting one of those hats myself. We've got equity means an equal. This is the bag that I have, which is also just really cool. I also really want one of those bags. We've got queer means Marxism. And then I also have, what's my other one? Oh, yeah. Anti-racism is racist, and those are the first four designs in the Subversive series. I will be launching more. I have one more that I'm kind of tinkering with right now. I don't know exactly what I want. I know the design looks very simple, but I do actually have a thought process that goes into the design, so I'm tinkering with it in my head. And so there will be one more coming soon that I'm actually really excited about. But that's all up on unwokeart.com, and I'm really, really excited about it. And guys, this is the stuff you do when you're trying to actually change culture. You have to create things that go out into the world, that start conversations that people can react to, that plant the seed for people to wake up. Because our number one job, always and forever, should be waking up as many people as possible to what the woke left is doing. That is why I do happy hour every single week. That is why I do Socialism Saturdays on Saturdays. That is why I do the Substack, is to help give you the information and the resources to help you go out into the world and red pill as many people as possible. And when I say red pill, I don't mean become a conservative or a Republican. I don't mean that. I'm a libertarian. I'm an anarcho-capitalist. That's the path I went down, and that suits me just just fine. When I say red pill, what I mean is waking people up to the reality of the world as it really is and hinging them back in to what is going on. And we start and end with the language. Whoever wins the war for the language will win the battle. And so we got to start disrupting that shit somehow. So I'll create some cool designs that look really cool that you guys can purchase to go out into the world. All the purchases, of course, support my work, but then you also get a cool piece of swag that you can use to start conversations, and I really appreciate it. Jen says, hey, Dr. K, I was kicked off Twitter. Why were you kicked off Twitter, Jen? What did you do? And I accept the content. What did you do? So I sent you a DM of all things on Facebook explaining. Oh, you sent me a DM explaining. Okay. I did see I had a message from you on Facebook, Jen. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I'll definitely go and check that out. Just keep appealing. Just keep appealing or create a new account. It's not that hard. It also shows how hypocritical Elon Musk is about free speech. Well, a lot of people have been getting banned on Twitter lately. And first, again, just go create another account would be my piece of advice, to be honest. But I'll take a look at what happened and just keep appealing. You never run out of chances to appeal on Twitter once you're suspended. So just keep appealing, just keep pushing. I know it's a pain in the ass and it's frustrating. I was permanently banned on Twitter for a month for sharing a government email address, a public email address. And I had to get 3 letters from the state of New Hampshire saying she was sharing a publicly available email address, you morons. And they finally reinstated my account, but I had to appeal over and over and over and over and over again. So keep hope, Jen. In the meantime, I will definitely check out that message on Facebook. All right, guys, we have one more order of business before we get into Jeffrey Marsh. And because this is happy hour, I do have some beers. Let me get to my beer. Hang on. So, the tradition with happy hour is this. I go to the craft beer store and I get 4 beers. I'm not going to drink all 4 beers on the stream. It's just a function of these little ring thingers coming in 4s, and I like even things. And so I get 4 beers. And what I do is I explain to you the beer and I tell you about it because everyone should be drinking good beer. There is no excuse anymore for drinking Bud Light or Coors Light or Miller Light or anything light. The only acceptable beer like that to drink is the ultra-right conservative dad's ultra-right conservative beer, which is actually pretty good. I had some last week on the stream. It's really, really, really not bad. But there's so much beer in the world. That's just amazing. And everyone should know about craft beer, and they should not be intimidated by craft beer. And so I'm going to explain the 4 beers that I have, and you guys are going to get to vote on which beer I drink first. And we're going to go in order basically of light to dark. So this one, I think I've had this one before, but the can is so pretty and people know that I do buy beers based on how pretty the can is because I have a beer can collection that's growing on my wall over there of pretty beer cans. And I'm pretty sure I've had this one before, but I had to get it because this is called Purple Peak. So as a shout out and dedication to Bot, this is a purple beer. This is from Granite Roots Brewing, a New Hampshire beer. Yay, New Hampshire. And this is a Berliner Weiss with black currants and plum. So that should be pretty purple. We hope it will be, but also be nice and light because a Berliner Weiss is a relatively light beer. Listen, guys, you don't have to drink crappy beer in order to drink light beer. You just have to find a good Pilsner or a Weiss or something like that. And you can still have a nice light beer, but it will be much better beer than that crap that most of you drink. Come on. So that's going to be our first one. Purple Peak with black currant and plum. The next one also potentially could be a purple beer for Bot. This is from my old standby, Pipe Dream Brewing. Pipe Dream Brewing is also in New Hampshire. They are in Londonderry, New Hampshire. Pipe Dream Brewing has been doing some, let's just say creative beers lately. They have donut beer. They have gummy beer. Now they have cotton candy beer. So we have from Pipe Dream Brewing, this is boysenberry cotton candy, a candy sour ale. And it says, Pipe Dreams Brewing, first imperial oh shit, I didn't know this was an imperial. What is the alcohol content? What is the, they hid the, it's fucking 9%. 9% alcohol content. Holy, I didn't know this was an imperial when I bought it. This is surprising. Okay, well, I'm committed now. Pipe Dream Brewing's first Imperial Sour Ale is infused with cotton candy and aged with more than 900 pounds of boysenberry. That's going to be our second option, boysenberry cotton candy. Our next one, excuse me. Our next one is coming from another brewery that I really like generally. This is Magnify Brewing, and this is going to be Coconut Sizzle. I love coconut in beer. It might sound counterintuitive, but coconut in beer is basically like the best thing ever. I'm going to choke again. There we go. And this is a smoothie style sour ale brewed with coconut gelato, coconut, and marshmallow. Yay, it has lactose in it too. So this one's going to be nice and creamy and thick and very coconutty. And the last one is also an Imperial. How much alcohol's in this one? Hang on. Where is your alcohol content, beer? They always say it's an Imperial and then they don't. Oh, this one is only 8%. So this is less Imperial than the cotton candy. And this is from WeldWorks Brewing Company. WeldWorks is another brewing company that I really, really like as a general rule. I'm pretty sure they're out of Colorado. Yes, they are. And this is going to be a coffee coconut Imperial Stout. And this is with toasted coconut, milk sugar, and not just any coffee, but Peruvian coffee from Zoe's Cafe, which I assume is in Colorado. So guys, those are your choices for today. Let me put the poll in the chat over on YouTube if you are watching on Odyssey, Rockfin, or Rumble. Well, I do appreciate you watching on whatever platform you are watching on. You cannot vote in the poll because we are only doing the poll over on YouTube. So if you want to vote in the poll, you got to come over here. Again, that's going to be Purple Peak, which is the Berliner Weiss with black currant and plum. We've got boysenberry cotton candy because you guys just want to see me get drunk really quickly. We've got coconut sizzle, which is going to be a coconut smoothie style sour. And we have coconut coffee stout, and this is also an Imperial, so that's going to be high alcohol content as well. Please make sure you're voting for whichever one you want, and while you're voting, I will get our sound set up here so we can get this party started. And guys, as a reminder, we do Socialism Saturdays on Saturdays tomorrow at 6 p.m. Happy Hours is our introductory class to all things woke and crazy. But if you want your advanced AP class, Socialism Saturday is going to be the way to go. Socialism Saturday gives us a preview into the absolute dystopian horror that the woke left is planning, except these are real socialists. This is the real deal. This is the farthest left of the far left, not Bernie Sanders socialists, not AOC socialists. We do that every Saturday at 6 p.m. I don't know what we're watching yet, but I promise I'm going to find something good. All right, let me see. I think I know which one is going to win, so let me just put the rest of the beers back. Because all you guys want to see is for me to get drunk on the internet and yell at Jeffrey Marsh. I know all of you. Come on. All right. Let's see, guys. Please mount that like button for me. Mounting the like button tells other people to come join us on the stream. And there is a shocking disparity between the number of people watching right now and the number of people who have mounted that like button. So while I am pouring this boysenberry, I am drinking an Imperial Sour for all of you, a 9% alcohol content beer, while I do commentary on crazy things that Jeffrey Marsh is going to say. So can we just please mount that like button for me? Can we do that much? Come on. This is going to be our boysenberry cotton candy. Look how purple that is. This actually does look kind of delightful. It is like a warm day here. Ooh, that is delightful. Hang on, I spilled a little bit on my... Do I not have a napkin? Oh, no. Oh, no. Hang on. I spilled beer and I don't have anything to clean it up with. Hang on. I don't have a napkin, but I do have a set of plastic silverware on my desk with a napkin in it for some reason. All right. Crisis averted. All right. Thank you guys for mounting that like button for me. Let's get started with Jeffrey Marsh teaching about queer self-love.
Welcome. We're just letting people in from the waiting room, so give it a minute to process, and we'll be getting started soon. So hello, everyone.
Hang on, we got another super chat from Jen, so I want to make sure to honor that. Question for the chat. Do you like tuna? I don't, what is, why are we spelling coconut backwards? Jen, I appreciate your creativity. I really do. You're like such a beautiful, sweet soul, and you're so creative in how you see the world. I don't understand why we're spelling coconut backwards. Oh, hip thrusting the like button. Oh my God. You can do whatever you want to the like button. Vince, always the gentleman. Hang on. I saw him posted in the chat. Where did he put it? The like button and I mutually arose. Whatever you guys feel like doing, the like button doesn't judge. It doesn't. Follow your bliss.
Monty Carvalho. I'm the Vice President of People and Culture and Chief Diversity Officer for Wayside. I will
They
be
have a
your Zoom
chief
technician
diversity
for the night.
officer.
So I just want to go over a couple quick logistics. We will be having our speaker. There is no PowerPoint or screen sharing, and it will be a Q&A kind of session. So we will be utilizing the chat.
Autumn, of course, saw what Jen is doing because it spells ton of cock. All right, Autumn, you get a point for today, but behave yourself, please.
Feature. And if you have a need for closed captioning or things like that, you should be able to turn on the closed captioning on the button below. We will not be doing any breakout rooms or any other items, but we do ask that you keep yourself muted unless we're in the Q&A section, and then you can do the raise hands feature, and then we will call on you for the question and answer section.
This does not taste like 9%, for the record. This beer is dangerous. It tastes nothing like 9%.
Our Director of Training and Equity Culture, to go through our 1 good minute. Amy?
Hi, everyone. I hope you're as excited as I am. I am beside myself excited.
I feel deeply comfortable that this person is in charge of something that relates to mental health for children. Does everyone feel comfortable that this woman is in charge of mental health for children? I know we all do.
But let's take our 1 good minute first, which I failed to mention to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, we always take 1 good minute of silence to set our intention to be fully present.
Oh God,
to the greatness.
We have a full minute of silence.
So we're going to take our 1 good minute.
Can I do it too?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, because I want to.
Okay, so Jeffrey will do 1 good minute with us.
All right, everyone, we're doing 1 good minute as well. Please set your intention for the day.
Now.
They do just a full minute of silence. This is the most awkward thing ever. Everyone set your intention for what you want to learn on this here stream today. Chat in your intention if you feel so inclined. And then we will all sit here awkwardly staring at each other on Zoom for no good reason for an additional 50 seconds, because 1 minute of silence is a long ass fucking time. They're still being this is so weird. This is so awkward.
Okay, that was like the longest minute of my life.
Yes.
Gamel?
Thank you, Amy. And now we're just going to do our second practice, which is micro-macro. For those of you not familiar, this is just where we acknowledge those little things and those big things that are maybe going through our minds and pulling our focus away. And we acknowledge that they're there, and we put them to the side just where we can focus.
This stuff really pisses me off, because this is, again, so for those who don't know, I was I still am an organizational psychologist, but I did much more organizational psychology in my previous life than I do now. And one of my specialty areas as an organizational psychologist was teaching fucking mindfulness. I know that's funny. I still do actually practice mindfulness. I do. You can't exist in this space without being mindful. I'll tell you what. But I do actually know my shit when it comes to mindfulness. I wrote an entire book about mindfulness strategies and how you integrate mindfulness into the workplace. And it really pisses me off, which I know is not a very mindful thing, but it really pisses me off that these woke assholes have appropriated mindfulness. And what they're doing when they do these exercises is they're trying to get you to let your guard down so that you are more susceptible to the bullshit that they are about to shovel your way. That's the entire purpose of this. And so it's not cool, man. It's not cool to try to hypnotize people or to get people into a trance-like state so that they become more susceptible to nonsense in the workplace. Don't ever fall for this if they're doing this in your workplace.
Focus for the night, and also to acknowledge that we're whole human beings, and that things are impacting us, whether we're talking about them or not. And so I'm going to just name a couple of things that may be big things, little things that you might be thinking about. You're free to put in the chat any micro or macros that might be pulling your focus or attention, or might be on your
Don't ever
mind
do
as
that.
well.
Don't participate.
So just first, in 2022, we have already seen at least 32 transgender people fatally shot or killed by other violent means. And we say at least because often these stories go unreported or misreported. And in previous years, the majority of those were Black and Latinx transgender women. We also want to acknowledge that healthcare for trans and non-binary youth and affirmation for trans and non-binary youth is in jeopardy.
Thank you, Half Orc Fighter, for becoming a new member on the channel. I really appreciate it.
In many places in our country and in the world. And we also want to acknowledge things that are progress that also might be on our mind. So Tokyo began issuing certificates of recognizing same-sex couples on Tuesday, which becomes the largest municipality to do so in a country in which same-sex marriage is not allowed. We have also over 200,000 trans people who could face voting restrictions because of state ID laws.
You're listening to my book, Zen Your Work, right now. That's so funny. I hope you're enjoying it.
We have Jessie Graham, a mom of 4 from Tennessee, who gave an impassioned and 3-minute speech in front of the Maury County Board of Trustees after the county's public library director, Zachary Fox, was allegedly pressured to resign. We have political violence occurring. We also have affirmative action before the High Court. So there's a lot really going on in our world.
Too
we just
bad,
want to acknowledge
so
those things are
sad.
swimming in our minds. Although we want to put them to the side, they're still in our hearts. And so without further ado, Amy, we will introduce our esteemed guest, Jeffrey Marsh.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Jeffrey.
Oh my God.
Marsh. Jeffrey
Can
was
you
the
believe
first
it?
non-binary public figure to appear on national television, being interviewed in Newsmax in 2016. Jeffrey was the first celebrity activist to use they, them pronouns. Jeffrey's #1 bestseller, How to Be You, was the first non-binary memoir, and Jeffrey is the first non-binary author to sign a book deal with the Big 5 publisher worldwide, Penguin Random House. How to Be You topped Oprah's gratitude meter and was named Excellent Book of the Year in a TED Ed. Jeffrey's category is a non-conforming book, How to Be You, and it ushered in a new literary genre, melding 3 previous and popular book formats. The book is part memoir, part Buddhist advice. Who's fellow Buddhists out there? Raise your hand. And part workbook.
None of these people are Buddhists. I'm sorry. None of these people are Buddhists.
Prose. How to Be You lays out the steps to end self-hate
Laura wants bingo cards. Hang on. Laura, I apologize. I did not get your bingo cards out. Let me get the bingo cards real quick. We will do genderqueer bingo today, just because. Thank you for the reminder, Laura. Here you go in the chat, and I will pop it in the chat over on Rumble as well, if Rumble people want to play bingo as well, just to pass the time. There you go.
In his lifetime, Jeffrey no longer lives with self-hate, and their memoir tells you how you can break free from self-hate too. How to Be You has been popular and so acclaimed in Barnes & Noble that it was re-released. It has a proprietary edition, a rare event for any book, especially one less than 5 years old. We invited Jeffrey to Wayside Youth and Family Support Network because they are revolutionary. And we think the work that you, the team at Wayside, and the clients and the youth and families that we are privileged to serve are also revolutionary. So it makes sense to put all these humans together. We understand that there are negative forces outside of Wayside that might not be taking the time to understand. And we want to support LGBTQIA folks in every possible way. And not only support, we want to affirm and celebrate. And so we'd like to do that tonight with the amazing, revolutionary Jeffrey Marsh.
Hi. Is that when I should turn on my camera? Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi, beautiful faces. It's so lovely to see you in this Zoom room. Now, Amy, I thought his went by. My
Did I?
pronouns are they,
I'm
them.
so
We
sorry.
gotta-
I'm so sorry.
But
Oh,
it's an
no.
excellent place-
Apologize.
Oh,
no,
no.
it's an
Yeah.
excellent place to start
She
Yes.
misgendered him. Holy shit,
because
she
I know your
misgendered
heart
him.
is in the right place. And this so often gets, can I say something really personal to start
Sure.
right off the bat?
Yeah.
Over the past few years, so you mentioned that in 2016, I was the first person on TV to talk about being non-binary, and it was on Newsmax. Ask me about that in the Q&A. But in 2013, I came out on Vine using they, them as a non-binary person. And over the years, it's gone from, like I'll go to the supermarket in a dress and it'll be like, oh, what is that? Why is that person like that over there? Oh, I'm scared, right? And we've transitioned from that to a lot of people being afraid to say the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in both cases, people like me are isolated.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always prefer you just say, you just say and speak, and we can be in communication about, and of course, part of my job then is to not make anyone feel bad. I always prefer just having everything out in the open so we can talk about it, because these things are important.
I'm so sorry I misgendered you, Jeffrey, and thank you for being so gracious about it. I
Oh,
really
we already have
appreciate
struggle session. Excellent.
I learned at the monastery to show grace to myself, and that learning to do that allowed me to be able to do it with everyone, which we can also talk about. But you are the handiest person to practice self-kindness on, right? Love on. Yeah. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm gonna open up the chat to people and let them ask questions. I will of course have questions. However, I will not be the only talker. So I see some of my wayside loves out there. And I will read to you a little bit of what's in the chat right now. I don't know if you can see it, but
I'll tell everybody, sorry to cut you off. I can't see the chat. The chat is turned off so that the questions come to me in this way.
Okay.
And I love everybody. You can ask me anything.
Okay.
This is so creepy.
Fantastic.
By the way, when I was on Newsmax, they asked me about my body parts on national TV. So if I can survive that, you could ask me anything you want.
Rihanna says, I'm so excited to be here. I love Jeffrey. I follow them on TikTok and find them so calming and amazing.
Aww.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of TikTok fans and a lot of Instagram fans I know with us today. Lewis is also saying, fanboy. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Thank you for being here. And so if anyone has a question, feel free to ask now, because this is your chance. Otherwise, I will start asking questions.
And now they're just going to say, she doesn't have anything prepared.
Do it.
God.
When I was in high school, this odd thing happened to me. Trigger warning, high school. I know that's just like a whole trigger warning by itself.
This woman, I'm sorry. Hang on. We can talk about how creepy Jeffrey is, but this woman, she's like a child. She's like emotionally stunted. And again, I just want to emphasize, the woman running this is like, it's like all giddy like a schoolgirl. I mean, I suppose there are times and places for that, but it's like, this is a mental health service for children. And you're acting like an emotionally stunted teenager in the body of what I think is a full-grown adult. It's just really creepy. The woman is actually more creepy to me right now than Jeffrey. I feel like I'm kind of used to Jeffrey's energy, and I know what Jeffrey's going to do. I'm not saying that Jeffrey isn't creepy, because Jeffrey is creepy, but I also think that, I know I get shit for saying this. I also just think that there might be a possibility that Jeffrey is just a really weird person. And some people are just really weird, and Jeffrey has embraced their weirdness. And so I don't know that I think that Jeffrey is like a child predator. I'm not convinced of that, to be honest. And I actually think it's kind of, I think it would be too bad to have so many accusations against him. Sorry. I really do try to respect the pronouns. I think it would be too bad to have so many accusations against Jeffrey if legitimately Jeffrey was not a child predator of any sort. Jeffrey can be creepy and not be a child predator, but I think we can all agree that minimally Jeffrey is really weird and really awkward and is outside the bounds of what we might consider normal, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I'm just saying that there might be a world in which Jeffrey is not like a child predator. I'm just like, you can be weird and not be a child predator. And I would like more evidence before people make that accusation, because I just think it's thrown around way too willy-nilly. Anyway.
When I was in high school, I did this really interesting thing and I came out my senior year. This was, I may not look it, I'm 45 years old.
No
So you can do the
way.
math. This was before Will and Grace, before the first Will and Grace, before the first
That's actually
Queer Eye.
impressive. Jeffrey looks good for 45,
There were very
man.
few
Come on.
examples about what it means to be
Give
LGBTQ,
credit where credit is due.
and certainly almost no examples about what it means to be gender exciting, gender delightful. And so in high school, the kids thought it would be funny, the other kids who were in my high school, rural Pennsylvania high school, they thought it would be funny to go behind my back and make me popular for one day. They elected me to this court. It was a total popularity contest. In the spring, we had the prom. Some people may know what this is. In the fall, we had the Sadie Hawkins dance.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, oh, crazy, girls ask boys out. This is, the world is topsy-turvy, you know? And in that, they had a court and a king for the Sadie Hawkins dance, a mirror of what the prom would be in the spring. So all the kids thought it would be hilarious to vote the very LGBTQ, very unpopular kid in their high school to be on the court so that I would feel bad and be embarrassed. And when they were
this is where I actually start to feel sorry for Jeffrey, because I absolutely believe it's true that Jeffrey probably experienced an insane amount of bullying growing up. I absolutely believe it's true that Jeffrey does not have a good relationship with their parents. Sorry. I absolutely believe it's true that Jeffrey does not have a good relationship with Jeffrey's parents. Like there's definitely something, because Jeffrey's whole thing is like family of choice. So something happened in Jeffrey's household, whether it's whatever, I'm going to screw up whether it's their father beat the shit out of them when they came out and were just like really unaccepted. Something bad happened in Jeffrey's household. So I have no doubt that Jeffrey was not only abused mentally and maybe even physically at home, but he was also bullied a lot in school. And I just think that it's important to kind of keep that in mind, because that's a horrific, traumatic experience to go through, right? That would fuck up anyone. A lot of people get screwed up because of bullying and emotional abuse that happen in the home as their kids. You know, you hope they work out their baggage on the way, on their journey or whatever. But I just want to acknowledge that part of what has made Jeffrey who he is today is probably that he was really, 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 really emotionally abused by his family and the children around him when he was younger.
Announcing the court in our multi-purpose room. It was everything. It was our gym, our cafeteria. The whole school was assembled, and I was under one of those trellises, you know, the white crisscross thing with big flowers stapled to it. We were all lined up, and they said to the whole student body, "We're going to announce the court. Here's the king," and it was the captain of the football team, the most popular kid.
Hang on.
And he walked out in front of me, and he.
Hang on. No. No. I don't allow that shit here. We do actually care that people get bullied here. You might be you're new here, I don't recognize you. You might we do not shit post about stuff like this that's actually serious in this community. Don't be a dick and no whining. I don't want to see anyone cheering for people getting bullied in school, all right? Grow the fuck up. You grow the fuck up.
Everybody started cheering, and then his best friend was next and went out, and I was third in line, and I'm standing there all by myself. I didn't date anybody till I was a senior in college. Standing there all by myself in this archway, as LGBTQ as can be, nervous. My heart is like blah, 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 blah. And I feel this presence behind me, just right over there. I feel this like, I turn, and it's the captain of the football team. The popular kid who is the king of the Sadie Hawkins came around and threw out a different way and came around behind me, and he took my hand and put it through his elbow, and they said my name, and he escorted me out in front of the whole assembly. And he started, making fun. He was like acting feminine, and the kids were laughing and pointing. But the weird thing is, and why I wanted to tell this story to this group right away, you just made me think of it. I didn't know people were laughing at me. I don't know if that sounds weird. I don't know what my face was doing, but I think smiling probably. I honestly didn't find out until later, because I was like prom queen for a day, for a moment. I was so affirmed that the most popular boy in front of the whole school, that I was being escorted out, and I didn't find out until later that it was a big joke, and they were laughing and they were making fun of me.
And he has no. Where are you going with this, Jeffrey?
I'm going to read to you what somebody's saying in the chat, Jeffrey.
Please.
Alex, they, them, pronouns. As a non-binary person, it hurts me when people misgender me. How would you recommend I hold people to a standard I know I deserve and that they can meet, while still holding compassion for myself and others?
Okay, Alex, here's the thing. You are functioning at a 401 level. Do you realize you are taking into account everyone in the situation's feelings? This is a good thing, by the way. You're respecting everybody. You're trying to look for yourself at the balance between taking care of yourself, taking care of others. How do you set a boundary, really, is what this question's about for me, right? How do you make sure your needs are met and that you are respected, and also do it in a kind way? That's what I'm hearing in your question. And that, to me, not even 401, that is PhD level of being a human being, because you may have noticed there are many human beings who only think of themselves. They are not considering others' needs at all. That's having a bit of a heyday lately, you might have noticed, Alex. We had an example of it. We had a demo of it right away, which is why I jumped on that moment. I made a vow to myself really long ago that I would always say something. That there is an appropriate way to refer to me. There is there are very, very few, but there are extenuating circumstances if somebody is like 112 and I don't know them very well, right? We don't want to go like, should say they, in great grandma's face. But almost all of the time I will say something. And
yeah, hang on.
I have made a vow.
Jen is saying something in the chat, and I agree with it. I agree. I think Jeffrey is emotionally traumatized by high school, and he's trying to relive a better version of whatever that means today, be it TikTok or what have you. I also think that he's trying to reach out to other people, like kids now in high school that might identify with being the weird kid that was bullied, to help them like not feel so awkward and not feel so out of place. And there's something noble about that, if I'm honest about it. There really is. And and I've said this before, but if Jeffrey is legitimately not doing creepy stuff with kids, which again, I don't think that there's any actual evidence for that occurring. It's just like he's weird, and so we're going to say things, and sometimes he says stuff that does come across really creepy, but there's no actual if Jeffrey is not doing anything wrong, I legitimately feel extremely bad for what Jeffrey has been put through online. I really do.
To myself to, if I can avoid it, never ever make anyone feel bad about it. I will not use guilt or shame as a tool in any way, internally, externally. Nope, it's off the table completely. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Jeffrey. That was wonderful. And so kind of where we are at Wayside, we really talk a lot about how to have more equitable conversations around all kinds of places where there's oppression, and without shame or blame.
Yep.
And I have another question for you. Anna, they would like me to say this. Jeffrey, your makeup looks so amazing. That's true. I love your eyeshadow. I wanted to ask how you grew to become more comfortable with being genuine in your gender expression. It's something I struggle with as someone who isn't able to be fully out.
Hang on, Jen has a great question. Do I think that Jeffrey Marsh has narcissistic tendencies? Yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely. Because the thing about narcissism, and for people who might be new, some of you have heard me say this a million times, I do not believe in using the term narcissist as an insult or calling someone a narcissist as an insult, because having narcissistic personality disorder, which is a real thing that real people have, it's a really sad thing to have narcissistic personality disorder. It's not something that if you're a good person, you hurl as an insult, because B, the person who has narcissistic personality disorder was in no control over developing it. In fact, the entire way that someone becomes a narcissist is, number one, they have to have parents or grandparents, I suppose, but most of the time parents that are narcissists. So it has to be like a genetic thing. There's a genetic predisposition to it. But then they have to experience an out of control environment in their childhood where they are not given the foundational things that children need. They aren't given emotional support, they aren't given food, they aren't given housing, maybe there's abuse involved. So there are two things that create a narcissist. You need nature and you need nurture. And both of those things are really sad. It is sad to grow up with narcissistic parents. It is sad to have the type of childhood that could develop someone into a narcissist, right? And so both of these things are completely out of Jeffrey's control. And so I want to make very clear when I say that, does Jeffrey have narcissistic tendencies? Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, Jeffrey does. Yeah, absolutely. But that's because Jeffrey was taken out of control when Jeffrey was a child. And it's the output of that. So, take that for what it's worth. Everyday Therapist says, often the child loses support, especially between the ages of 5 and through the early teen years. Yep.
Well, first thing to know is I'm going to sound like a broken record tonight, I think. Guilt and shame are useless. So if you're having any shame around not being out, we chuck that right out the window. There's this narrative that LGBTQ people are like, Pride Parade, we're all going toward this fully out kind of waving flags.
That's actually decent advice, honestly.
That's not for everybody. Not everybody can. As Gamel was pointing out earlier, it's not always safe, depending on where you are or the job you're in or your life circumstances to be out. But it also could be a personal choice. Maybe you just don't want to be. And that to me is all okay. So I have chosen consciously this life of being a public figure and being out and trying to do all the good that I can. Do you know what caused like a turning point in me? Being on Tucker Carlson against my will. I was just targeted by this Twitter account yesterday, actually. There's a Twitter account called Libs of TikTok.
Oh, there it is.
And you might be judging by the name. They're a very far right TikTok account, but they act as sort of a funnel for the far right. So they will share on their Twitter feed people's TikToks, and then other people in the sort of far right ecosystem will start targeting those same folks. So it's sort of like a first step to your entree. And one of, about 6 months ago, one of the TikToks I made was on Libs of TikTok, and then Tucker Carlson played my TikTok on his show in the A block, which you can Google. That's like, 5, 6, 7, 8 million people watching.
Mm.
And I'm telling you, the all caps emails I got from that moment about the Second Amendment, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
That was a turning point for me, because I talked to my partner, my husband.
Hang on. We don't insult people like that on this channel, because everything you say in the chat is public and it can be used against me. So let's please if you have criticism about what Jeffrey is saying, then you're allowed to criticize that. I'm just going to ask that these types of comments don't happen, because this is a public YouTube channel. The chat is public, and I don't want to get saddled with this shit, because I don't believe there's anything wrong with being weird on the internet. Okay? So let's guys, I really do try. Listen, I know that some people don't like the rules in my chat, but I really do try to create a place to have adult conversation. I know I'm different than a lot of YouTube channels in this regard. I really do get it. But can we please focus our criticism on things that are real and are actually being said? That's all I'm asking. Let's see, I got a super chat coming in from Rottweiler. Hang on, we'll wait for that. It just takes a second to load. Thank you, Rottweiler. I have the feel he might have been sexually abused too, since that's also another cause for narcissistic personality disorder. And I say this without a hint of ill will. I feel too much compassion towards children. Rottweiler, I totally agree. I really do. I think that Jeffrey has been through some shit. And I think that the reason that Jeffrey is doing what Jeffrey is doing is to try to, I honestly think that Jeffrey's intentions are pure. I really do. I think that Jeffrey wants to help young people who are in a predicament like Jeffrey was in. Now, again, if he's doing anything that crosses the line, I would not be happy about that. I wouldn't condone that, but I don't have any evidence that that's the case.
And I was like, am I going to not do this anymore? And there, it's fine to say we won't let them win, but when you're in the moment, ooh. So I'm not recommending you have a video played in front of 8 million people that don't like you. But it did help me to realize why I do what I do, why I want to keep going, how good my heart is, no matter what they think of me. And those are the places I would encourage you to concentrate, no matter how much you're out or in, or, whether you look the right way, or, whatever you want to make changes in the future, you can, wherever it's a very Jeffrey thing to say. Wherever you are, acceptance is the absolute key.
I do not have any questions right now. I don't know why people are being shy. I'm reminding them, don't be shy.
Maybe you should have had a list of questions.
I have a question I'm putting in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Suzanne spoke up.
This is Suzanne, who is our clinical director and amazing.
Hi, Suzanne.
Sorry. Hi, we're just putting my kiddo to bed. I can put it in the chat, or I can just
ask. Just ask.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I love people. Just ask me.
Well, when I'm just so excited you're here, I actually watch you on Instagram every day, just as
Aww.
a way to just rejuvenate. So just thank you. But my wife and I have a 4-year-old who we assigned male at birth, and we were totally wrong.
Oh my
and
God.
she's-
This is the clinical director for the mental health facility for children in Massachusetts saying, we assigned our child male at birth and we were totally wrong at 4 years old. How do you know you're wrong at 4 years old? Mental health professional. See, this woman is already more creepy to me than Jeffrey is. I'm sorry.
She's fully identifying as a girl and just completely living as a girl, and we
At
we just
4
love it.
years old. 4 years
But
old.
can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
I do not want to be like rude and steamroll, but you said we assigned.
Yeah.
There was a whole system that went into that, right? I don't know if you should take responsibility, really. Like the medical system, doctors.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, thank
Yeah,
you for
good point.
being willing to, lay it out that way. But there's
Yeah.
extenuating circumstances about the way our society works. Yeah.
No,
So
that's
go
true.
ahead.
So last week, it's a little hard.
Is that her in the background?
Yeah. Last
Don't put her
known?
on the internet.
Yeah,
Don't
no,
do
she's
it.
actually climbing on the dining room table.
Do you need to address that or
No, my wife's with her. It's all good. It's all good. But last week she came home really upset because other kids at school were saying that she's a boy because her hair is shorter. And I'm wondering what your recommendation is for us to make sure that her spirit doesn't get crushed. We can say to her.
Can you say a little bit about your emotion right now? Your tears? If the tears could say something, what would they say?
I'm going to another room.
If there are more tears coming, perhaps.
Well, there's just also just little ears.
Okay. I just want to point out that the director of counseling for a mental health facility that is serving children is asking Jeffrey Marsh for therapy and advice around mental health issues. And that to me kind of might be, I don't know, a disqualifying thing for a director of counseling for a mental health facility that is serving children. Did Jeffrey Marsh get some sort of credential? Did Jeffrey Marsh have some sort of clinical practice? I'm not allowed to give this advice because I'm not a clinician, because I'm an organizational psychologist. So I'm not even allowed to give this type of advice. Why is Jeffrey Marsh allowed to give this type of advice to a director of? And my point about this is she should damn well fucking know better.
I think I just feel sad, when I see the confusion on her face, why are you calling me this? And angry, and she's such a special kid.
Everyday therapist. This is a great, that's not what I wanted to click on, sorry. This is a great question. I wonder if she has her own therapist that maybe, she could ask this question to. And listen, guys, people might think I'm being harsh on her, but there is actually a code of ethics that you're supposed to adhere to if you're providing mental health services. And, this just seems to be outside the bounds of a code of ethics to me.
That I don't want anything to make her feel bad. As simple as that.
There are going to be things that make her feel bad in the
really
world.
Good news for you, and I have not so good news for you. I am so glad. First of all, I'm so glad you unmuted and we could have this face-to-face, heart-to-heart interaction. It's very different than a chat.
That person shouldn't be working with kids either. Emotionally stunted.
So the very good news is you're an excellent parent. I write about this in How to Be You. My parents did not do so well in many ways. And to see my life would be completely different if I had had a caring, loving, kind parent
See?
like you.
That's how Jeffrey developed
So
narcissism
that is
right
the
there.
very good,
Parents.
stellar news, and I want you to feel good about that.
Hang
The not so
on.
good news is this is
I have already warned you once, the shit posting is going to stop. This does not matter. It doesn't matter. Cut the shit. Hang on, I got another super chat coming in from Rottweiler. Rottweiler, you're the best. Thank you. Rottweiler says, having someone with mental health issues counseling kids with mental issues is very dangerous. Yes, it is. It can create a very nasty feedback. Everyone drags down the next person. That's something I've talked to with a development psychologist. No, that's absolutely true. Listen, man, if you're doing counseling, like, you don't bring your own garbage in. Everyone has baggage. Every single person over the course of living life is going to have baggage. All right. It's just the way life goes. Counselors have baggage. Psychologists have baggage. Clinicians have baggage. Jordan fucking Peterson has a metric ton of baggage. And Jordan Peterson should really work on his baggage. I'm just saying, because he's getting really angry and it's really weird. But like, when you're actually counseling people, you need to make sure you have your own nonsense in check. Otherwise, you're going to pass your own nonsense onto the people you're counseling, and you're going to end up doing more harm than good. Adrena, this doesn't matter in the slightest for the context that we're having right now.
going to happen repeatedly.
Yeah.
Their soul's going to be crushed a lot and come home to you. I wish I could phrase it a different way or say something else. And you know, it's why it's important that everyone who's on this Zoom is on this Zoom. If you can be that person, somehow learn to be that person who is not soul crushing to people like me. Good. We like that you're here. This is good. And, you know, that goes back to what I was saying. Amy, you're on this side in my Zoom. I'm pointing to you over here. You know, what I was saying with Amy, I don't care at this point if you say the right thing or wrong thing or not. Just be extra kind, be loving.
Philosophist, thank you for the super chat. This is all the cherry on top of a Sunday that is the 75-year destruction of American education. Oh, it's totally true. This is the destruction of education is like has trickled down into absolutely every single industry, to include mental health, to include medicine, to include everything. This is the natural consequence of people not doing anything to fight back before now.
Be good. Be a good-hearted person. Dive in. Yeah, if you see bullying, hatred, call it out, right? Just go back to the basics of knowing what human souls are and what they need. So my best advice, because you asked for direct advice, is overcompensate, which it sounds like you've been doing.
I can do that.
Create the kindest, most loving, smother away, just hug, say I love you, make sure that at least within your four walls.
There is no evidence of this. We ground ourselves in reality on this channel. We do not make shit up to feed conservative outrage culture. There is no evidence of this. Stop making. See, here's the fucking problem with conservatives. Conservatives actually make me into an apologist for Jeffrey fucking Marsh. Because I don't like a lot of what Jeffrey Marsh does. But the fact that you assholes continue to make shit up that is not grounded in reality at all, or grounded in evidence, or grounded in things that Jeffrey actually says and Jeffrey actually does, you force me into a position of telling you to get fucked, because I actually think it's worse that you make shit up about Jeffrey Marsh than what Jeffrey Marsh is actually doing. Stop it. It brings down. Do you guys not realize that when you make false accusations of grooming and pedophilia and everything else, you make those terms meaningless? Conservatives are the ones who have made the term groomer, which actually has a meaning and is actually happening in the real world. Conservatives have made the term meaningless. They've made the term pedophilia meaningless because of this. Just stop.
Walls that you have more than 4 within the walls of your home. You know, it's celebrated to be who you are.
Thank you so much. This is so meaningful.
Go turn your camera off and go hug that child right now.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. I will in a little bit.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You can
thank
stay
you.
with us too.
Yeah.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
Suzanne, thank you so much for being everything you are.
Thank you.
Jeffrey, we have another question. Travis asks this. Here at Wayside, we work with youth in all stages of sexual orientation and or gender exploration.
Beth, spoiling me as always, Beth. Thank you, Queen Beth of the chat. 2 things. 1, bullying is wretched. No one deserves it. 2, there was a Muslim woman who called Jeffrey Marsh out for bullying. Yes, she did. I remember her. Whether she was right or wrong, he had his followers terrorize her and doxed her children. Comments. He shouldn't have done that either. It's not good for one side to do it. It's not good for the other side to do it. So, like, both are bad. Like, it's not, and this is the thing though. It's like I have actually less sympathy for the right, Beth, because the right were the supposed victims of this bullying for so long. And it's like they turn around and they do the exact same thing. And so did I feel for that Muslim woman that called Jeffrey out for grooming, that were then terrorized by Jeffrey's followers? Of course I did. I've been mobbed on the internet. I've been brigaded on the internet. I'm somewhat used to it at this point, but for someone who's never had that experience happen to them before, I really feel for them. It sucks. It is a jarring if you have never been through that before and you don't know what to expect, and all of a sudden you have like 1 million people coming at you, like, that's a lot of people, man. You get a lot of angry messages, you get death threats, you get all this stuff. It is one of the most awful, jarring experiences to go through when it first happens to you. But just because Jeffrey did that, I mean, Jeffrey probably did that. He told this story earlier about how Tucker Carlson played his, which, by the way, I don't feel bad for Tucker Carlson playing Jeffrey Marsh's TikTok video, because if you're going to put stuff on the internet, that's just like, if you're going to make stuff public, then people are going to play your stuff. And Jeffrey Marsh probably got more famous and more followers and more money as a result of Tucker Carlson playing his TikTok video. I mean, I am absolutely positive that Jeffrey Marsh also got a metric ton of hate when Tucker Carlson played that video. I don't feel sorry for him though, whatever, because Jeffrey is making the conscious decision to put his content on the internet, and that's just the way it goes. But if it's so wrong for Jeffrey's followers to mob people, then it's also wrong for conservatives to do exactly the same thing. And I have been mobbed significantly more by conservatives than I have by the left, if I'm honest about it. And I've talked about this many times. I have been mobbed and brigaded and doxxed to within an inch of my sanity by the conservative right. I never got it as bad from the woke left. Even when I came out and left the Democratic Party, even when I did a PragerU video about leaving the Democratic Party, even when I had an essay go viral on the internet about leaving the Democratic Party, I never had it as bad from the left as I did from the right. So if it's bad for one, it's bad for both. And everyone should just cut the shit and stop mobbing people on the internet and stop participating in outrage culture, because it's none of it's real. It's just people feeding an outrage addiction. Most of the time, no one even cares. No one even knows who you are. No one even knows what's going on. They just want to feed an outrage addiction. So I think it's wrong on both sides. Yeah, check this out. Ellie, totally honest, I can't talk to my conservative friends anymore. My leftist friends have been nicer. They are nicer now. I really want conservatives to hear this. Leftists are nicer now. They are. Not joking. They're more pleasant to be around. They don't insult you all the time. They're not pissed off all the time. It's because they're winning. It's because they're in power, right? But they are much nicer to be around than the conservative right now. They really are. And the conservative right should think about that. James Jones, thank you for the super chat. There's more to Wayside than youth and family support. There's the Wayside Equity Training Center. Oh, good, James Jones. Maybe we'll look into that later. I appreciate the note.
When you were an adolescent, what is something you wish someone had said to you that would have encouraged your feelings of safety in your own journey? It's a great question, Travis.
How are you doing today? That's really what I wish. I remember my grandma, as far as I can remember, being the first person to ever say that to me. And I was like 13. How was your day? How are you doing? And I nearly fell over. We were in the kitchen. We were preparing for Thanksgiving and I wanted to help. And she was just like, how are you doing today? And I just grew up with nobody checking in on me.
That's actually a really good point.
check in.
I also want to say this too. If something bad happens to someone and they confide in you or they tell you about something bad that's happened to them, the best thing that you can do, at least what I think in my experience, is to start by saying, before you launch into any diatribe or anything else, if someone comes to you and says something bad has happened, whether or not you personally think it's the worst thing in the world, you say something to the effect of, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Because no one ever says that. No one ever says that. I have publicly talked extensively about my own rape because I want to make the point that these things are actually impactful and they actually do fuck with you pretty severely. And conservatives seem to think that after you're raped, you just hop, skip, and jump down to the pharmacy to pick up a plan B, which does not happen. I have never one time when I've talked about my own rape, had someone say to me, Carlin, I'm really sorry that happened to you. And it's honestly, it's like one of the simplest things in the world. And it's what happens when I talk about it is conservatives launch into it. Well, if you got pregnant, you should keep the baby because you don't want to murder a baby just because something bad happened to you. That's what happens every single time. Do you know how shitty it is to talk about something that's actually traumatic for you, but you're doing it to prove a point? You're doing it for a greater good of some sort, and to have someone launch into well, you good thing you didn't murder your own baby. Do you know what an asshole you come off as? And I'm over it now. I've gotten used to it, which is bizarre to say that I've gotten used to be talking about my own rape, right? But the point I'm making is that maybe we should put human considerations first sometimes. And I think that's what Jeffrey's saying. And it's you can take time to be a human being before you launch into your politically motivated diatribe.
And there's one more thing I want to maybe broaden a little bit for you, Travis, because I assume you're not LGBTQ or not trans, maybe. And I know it's in a clinical atmosphere. It's very magnetizing to talk about things in a certain way. But maybe people don't have stages. Whatever stage they are in being LGBTQ, you said, but maybe it's just, people who are who they are, and we all go in and out and up and down, and life's an EKG line, and yeah, I wouldn't want you to think anyone's getting anywhere, because that can be really difficult if you approach trans folks with that sort of matrix.
Caitlin just says Suzanne, heart, heart, heart. And then Karen has a question for you, my very dear friend Karen.
Hi, Karen.
She's like so
Karen
thrilled.
waved. I can see Karen over there.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Jeffrey. So thrilled to be here with you. Thank you for meeting with us. My kiddo, Lauren, is non-binary. We are 1,000% behind them and do all we can to support. I do, however, encounter far too regularly the narrative of, gosh, it's so challenging grammatically to use they, them, or worse still, it's just a phase. How do I respond to this? And we have a lot more questions, just letting you know. Okay.
Great. Okay. I'll go into the succinct answer portion of the program. The answer to this one is very simple. People use they already every single day. So I get very suspicious. Somebody left their wallet here. I hope they come back and get it. Say, the wallet belongs to one person. People use they for one person constantly, every day. Where they refuse or I just can't is around non-binary and trans people. And that makes me very suspicious. It might make you suspicious too.
Because it's
And I would call it
grammatically
out.
incorrect,
I would
Jeffrey.
say something, I understand using language in a new way is difficult, but if everyone can learn Brangelina, they can probably learn they for one person. Amy, there was a second part to that too, but it was the they them part, and then there was another brief.
Oh, there is another part. I'm sorry. I tend to feel angry and unkind in my responses. It feels ignorant, and I don't think that's kind or helpful.
Also, sorry to interrupt.
Yes, Karen.
Hi. I'm so thrilled to meet you. The other part is people tend to say things like, it's just a phase, or all the kids are using they, them pronouns, marginalizing my kids' experience because they know exactly who they are and have known for a very long time. I find it beyond rude for them to label it a phase. And even if it were, leave it alone. I just don't know how to be succinct and kind in my responses and shut that narrative down. It drives me potty that's where they go,
Yes. I'll tell you something my teacher at the monastery used to say. Sometimes being firm is being kind.
Awesome.
So being crystal clear and firm is sometimes the kindest thing, even though they might think you're a jerk or they might think lots of things. But if you say, you will not treat my child this way, that to me seems very kind.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And there's one more thing, one more hot tip for every single person, because I've been doing this for years. Most cis people who have cis meaning non-trans, most non-trans people who have a problem with trans people, it always, listen to me, look at me, everyone, it always comes back to us being fake. That's it.
That's actually a really good
They
point.
think it's a phase. They think
That's actually like a really good point. I want to say this too. Like, I don't think Jeffrey's faking. I don't think Dylan Mulvaney's faking. I don't think it takes an absurd commitment. Beth, thank you so much. I'm going to get to that in a second. Beth, you spoil me. I'm starting to feel guilty, Beth. Anyway, I don't think that Jeffrey is fake. I don't think that Dylan Mulvaney is fake. It takes an absurd amount of commitment to do this stuff. And I don't think people who, I'm obviously not trans, although I did get accused of being trans the other day on Twitter. Some guy was like, you have trans facial features. And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? My husband's going to be shocked that I'm actually trans. I don't think they're faking. I think that they believe what they're doing. And I don't think it's our job to call someone out for faking when you don't know. It's like the same thing as being a grifter. What does that even mean? People making money on the internet, like this amazing $100 super chat that I just got from Beth. Thank you. I'm totally a grifter now because someone sent me a $100 super chat. Beth, you're the best. This is why Beth is the queen of the chat. The other problem I have is, and we are all guilty to some extent, I guess, is because of his bad relationship with his parents, he is advising children to cut off relationships. Some may have understanding parents and could destroy that. Beth, I can see both sides of this. And I definitely understand your side and your perspective on this, in that we should not be encouraging children to cut off relationships with their parents as a general rule, right? Because I think we can all agree that being a teenager sucks. You hate your parents when you're a teenager. Like, everyone hates their parents when they're a teenager. And I think we can acknowledge that, right? At the same time, as someone who, with my parents, I don't view my parents as bad, demonic people or anything, but like, mistakes were made. And I hated my parents as a teenager. And I won't say I hate my parents now, because I've had to work through like a lot of feelings in regards to my parents. I don't hate them. Hurt people and all that stuff. But I don't have a relationship with my parents. Not really. Besides the fact that my mother's wedding jewelry is sitting on my desk because she just divorced my father after 50 years, which will give you some insight into what went on in my household. But for me, like, to be honest, keeping my parents at arm's length is actually a positive thing. And I tried really hard throughout my entire life to have like a positive, like, I desperately wanted, I never understood why my friends, I'm gonna cry. I never understood like why my friends had a better relationship with their parents than I had with mine. I never understood why it was so different. And it was just because my parents are not the emotionally supportive people that I need in my life. And I need to keep them at arm's length. And I don't hate them. I don't go around feeling like I'm, wishing for their death or anything like that. I've come to grips with it. But for me, it's like, I kind of wish someone had been around to say to me, like, it's okay to have a family of choice. Like, I do. I do. And so I don't think that, while I hear you and I understand that there is concern about telling telling kids to cut off relationships with their parents, I also have somewhat of an appreciation for the fact that Jeffrey is telling people about the concept of like a family of choice, which is people that you choose to have in your life that you're not biologically related to. And I know this is like a woke left thing, and that is something they're absolutely playing with in terms of trying to abolish the family. However, life is complicated. The biological family doesn't necessarily add up to people who are emotionally supportive of you. And there needs to be a balance of both. And I don't know what to say beyond that. I understand the concern. I also understand that there are probably a lot of people out there that need to hear about having a family of choice and about how having a family of choice is okay. And so I can see both sides of it. And I really do appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much.
It's this, they think it's that, but it always funnels right back into, I don't believe you, I don't take you seriously, you're fake. So just watch, keep an eye out.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Amy, to the chat.
Okay. Well, Lewis has their hand up. Lewis, do you want to speak?
Yeah, it'd just be easier.
Okay.
So
hi, Lewis.
I am the parent. I am a non-binary person myself, and I use they, them pronouns. And I have 4 children, 2 of whom are trans and 2 of whom are cis. And they're all boys.
That's definitely not suspicious at all. By the way, does anyone else find it suspicious that apparently every single person working in this mental health facility targeted at children is like trans or non-binary or on the queer spectrum of some sort? It's definitely not suspicious when a non-binary person has not 1 but 2 trans children. Definitely not Munchausen's by proxy.
And what I have struggled with is I have one child who's deeply homophobic and 2 children who are trans and same-sex attracted. So there's been
I'm going to guess, sorry to interrupt you, I'm going to guess the homophobic one is not same-sex attracted.
No.
But this is another sibling. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So my
What do you mean by
oldest
homophobic?
is homophobic, and we've
Yes,
I've approached it with a look. You can believe whatever you want. That's not for me to dictate, but you do
There's
not
the bingo
get to
card.
treat other people unkindly because of your beliefs. But now that my sons are dating girls, things kind of have escalated again with it's bringing up a lot of stuff emotionally for my 17-year-old. He would not be in the same room with them or in the same, because he said he felt sick. And I'm like, God, how do I support my child to like develop?
Why are you going
in a
to
way
Jeffrey
that is,
Marsh with these questions?
where he can be more open-minded.
I understand that these people are enamored of Jeffrey Marsh because Jeffrey, like, okay, listen, let me just be brass tacks about this. Do not go to influencers and people with a TikTok platform for mental health advice. Why are these people who work in a mental health facility asking Jeffrey Marsh questions in a video that is public on the internet about their children and their mental health? Jeffrey Marsh is a TikTok star. Jeffrey Marsh is not a clinician. Jeffrey Marsh is not a therapist. Jeffrey Marsh should not be asked for psychological advice by people who work in a mental health facility about their children. Like, can we all start having some perspective here? This makes no sense. Stop. And by the way, guys, and I'm going to say this in general, I'm going to say this as someone who does YouTube kind of like for a living. Don't, like, and I say this as someone with a PhD in psychology. Don't ask me for mental health advice when I'm on the internet. I am not your counselor when I'm on the internet. I'm not anyone's counselor. I'm not a clinician. I'm an organizational psychologist. Like, don't ask me for mental health advice on the internet. It is not the time. It is not the place. Go see a therapist. And yeah, I feel like I generally do give pretty good advice, but like, I'm not in like mental health mode when I'm streaming on YouTube. This is not not therapy. This is the internet. It is a fundamentally different thing. Okay? People are allowed to have multiple sides of their personality. I am not Carlin the psychologist when I'm streaming on the internet shit talking people. And you definitely shouldn't come to me for mental health because like, I don't know your situation. I don't know you. I've never talked to you. I don't have any context for what you're asking about. Like, I can't just spout out mental health advice that's actually accurate off of the top of my head. And if I can't do it and I have an actual PhD in psychology, Jeffrey Marsh sure as shit can't do it. And he sure as shit can't do it for other people's children.
And I have to be open-minded to him in order to achieve that. But oh my gosh, I feel like I'm being ripped in by wild horses to try to take, so like,
yeah.
I
totally validate your feelings. That seems reasonable to me.
So like, how do I support my queer children without
queer
putting down or I can't affirm that belief in him. I can affirm that he can have it, but I can't affirm that belief in him because, I mean, that's a belief against my own existence. So I mean, there's stuff there,
so we believe in affirming, except when it's beliefs that we don't believe in.
Think there's stuff there? Yes, no, I love it. And I'll tell you something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Homophobia, queerphobia, transphobia, they're classically looked at as the irrational fear of gay people, trans people. And I don't think it's that. I think transphobia is the irrational fear of the possibilities that we represent.
Mm-hmm.
So people are dedicated to the boxes, they are dedicated to the roles, they're dedicated to women being paid less, they're dedicated to women doing the dishes and men taking out the trash. The roles they're absolutely dedicated to. They're also dedicated to the idea, the concept, the language of gender and all of that stuff. And they're very dedicated to these hierarchies.
You can do rows or corners,
and then
Laura.
We come along and we're like,
congratulations, you got a bingo.
Nature isn't like that. Nature is vibrant and free, and so are we. Come join us. And that's what, to me, generates the fear. And you're a good person, Lewis. So you're feeling compassion for somebody. You don't know what's going on in your child's heart, but you assume that there's some, as you said, stuff going on. And that brings up compassion in you. Have you considered talking directly about the compassion part?
I haven't, no. A good point.
Maybe a way to go. And this is, I'm just warning you, this is a joke, but I have to make the joke anyway, right? You don't want to be so like, you can't have that idea that you end up raising a Republican now. That they like rebel and become ultra, alt-right.
Oh my God, Jeffrey.
That is a complete joke. Did you know conservatives follow me?
Oh yes, they do.
That's
oh yes, they do.
To talk about.
Yes,
later.
they do.
I think you're a really stellar parent, and I would talk about the compassion you feel for the struggle of it all, because I would imagine your child has some good feelings about their siblings, and that it's not cut and dry and black and white and good and evil, and they might like it to be, because when you're that age, you really want things to be, but I bet it's a real soupy mess, probably.
Thank you so much, Lewis, for sharing. And thanks, Jeffrey. I'm going to move us on. Travis said, thank you so much for your thoughtful response. Travis was asking the question about working with youth who and their sexual orientation, gender representation. Nick now has a question. Nick also works at Wayside. Hello, Nick. Following up from Karen's thoughts on pronouns, I'm wondering if you can speak to navigating a world with kindness and assertion when you don't prefer pronouns and do not identify with gender at all. I'm agender. Similar thoughts to navigating other parts of identities, such as poly.
Oh, yeah. Nick, do you mind unmuting so I can ask you a follow-up?
Sure.
Good. I saw you wave there.
Oh yeah,
thought you might be
she definitely.
Hang
on. She definitely doesn't identify with gender. Looks exactly like a fucking girl. Doesn't identify with gender at all. Please.
Or you would prefer something? What do you want people to do? You want them not to refer to you at all? I know.
I am a black boy. That's kind of what it comes down to. It's less of I've had generally positive feels towards they, them, because it's working away from other pronouns that I don't prefer. And they, them as a kindness. They, them as a kindness for knowing that I'm still going to get misgendered because pronouns are inherently something like I see people struggle with regularly, and just makes me want to continue to become the black void that I am. And
this person's eyebrows are ridiculous. And these are not like natural eyebrows. She has like groomed these. The reason I say this is don't tell me that you have no relationship to gender at all if you're spending an excessive amount of time making your eyebrows look like that, because that is not like a natural formation of an eyebrow. I'm sorry. It's not. Come on. Yeah, exactly. She's on the spectrum. She's autistic. And so she thinks she doesn't have a gender, that she's non-binary or anything like that. It's just autism.
Suck everything into it and just be. It's not to not be, but it's just to exist without the weight of having to explain or having to put out pronouns.
Yuri, I'm not saying that all autistic people are like confused about gender. I'm just saying, like, you're like a normal autistic person. Like, you're weird and you have a weird way of looking at the world, and I say that as a positive thing. I'm not shit talking autists. I love autists. I'm just saying that people with autism are particularly susceptible to this insanity, and we need to acknowledge that because they're being specifically targeted in school with this insanity. But you're like a normal autistic person.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever live at a Buddhist monastery?
I did not.
I did, and my gender journey, was happening obviously well before, when I was a kid, even well before I moved to the Buddhist monastery. But then I went there and I was like, oh, this, right? Just
Do
existing.
people still have first names? Hi, I'm Carlin. You're a philosophist.
Is doing. What's
Does
really
everyone
funny
here
is I
have a
made
first
that
name?
slight joke earlier, and I want to clarify. It wasn't an anti-Republican joke, because about a third of my followers are Republicans. If you look in the, Facebook knows everything about you. If you look, especially in the Instagram, the behind the scenes, who's following you, it's about a third Republicans, third Democrats, and third independent, haven't said. And I used to be, I'm a Democrat myself. I'm left myself, and I used to be kind
we
of
couldn't
weirded
tell
out by
Jeffrey.
that. But I think I've realized that they're attracted to the kindness, and they can recognize the kindness. But you, Nick, made me think of the very, very far right, who does not follow me. But the very, very far right will come into my comment section
no, the
and
far
say,
right follows you.
I hate pronouns. This is so stupid. I'm never using a pronoun again. I'm like, maybe you should hang out with them, because they'll never use any pronoun, supposedly. It's always, always, always a balance between the ideal and the actual. And it gets very, very difficult not to turn it into self-hate. They're treating me this way because I deserve it. Nobody really sees me because I'm such a freak. Yeah.
I hear that, and I also put out that my lack of attachment, my feelings towards pronouns aren't a direct attack on myself as much as just wanting to be free of it. It's not the most pleasant thing, and it's not something that tears into me in the same ways as much as it'd just be nice to not. It'd be really nice to be in spaces to not, because there are spaces where it's not safe to be 100% out in my existence, and I'm still navigating that, and I've accepted that, and that's no negative feelings towards anyone around me. That's a choice I'm navigating, and there's always just that desire to not.
And that desire is something you're very much at peace with?
It's something I'm continuing to dig deeper in and explore, because there's a piece of wishing, how feasible is that actually? Is that something that is feasible to ask and to be able to assert? Because it is putting that weight to someone else, and it's navigating how are we going to hold something that is comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time together in an interaction, in a relationship.
So let me ask it this way. I assume you asked the question because you want something about it to change. What's that thing? What do you want to change?
I think more just getting another perspective on it, because the idea of asking that is a big ask. Asking for no pronouns, asking that of other people is a big ask in a relationship, and how to navigate that.
Oh,
She's like
that
about
I
to
can definitely tell
cry.
you about. There's no magic bullet. It's not going to happen overnight. You'll need to have lots of compassion for yourself, compassion for others. And I sense that those are answers you knew about already. So would it be helpful to have my deep, sincere encouragement to go for it? That is definitely something I can offer. Everything you've said to me sounds great. It sounds like, honestly, something you deserve as a human being. So go for it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I love this group.
Yeah, we're fun. I think we're fun. Okay, we have yet another question. Lay Cohen, they, them, says gender diversity is so beautifully infinite. Could you please talk a bit about what being non-binary means and feels like to you, and how, if at all, it has changed for you throughout your life?
I mentioned briefly that I came out in 2013 as non-binary, and that was on Vine. And it was because of young people. So I also mentioned my age. So in 2013, I was not a child. Back then in 2013, I was making videos with scruff, facial hair, eyeshadow, and the young people on Vine were like, "Are you non-binary? Are you they, them?" And I was like, "What are these young people talking about?" And so I go to Google and I found a little website called Tumblr, tumblr.com, and read people's firsthand accounts on their Tumblr about what it's like to be non-binary. And so when you said, what does it mean to you? Mostly it just means, relief, shoulders drop. That's me. That's what I've been searching for my entire life. It was like a key in a lock with a twist of the wrist. And everything just with my identity just felt affirmed and lighter. It's important for me to do this work and to always encourage everyone I can to speak frankly about being non-binary and what it means to them, because it means lots of different.
Hang on, I want to acknowledge Amanda's comment. Amanda says, I'm a transsexual/transgender woman, and being so, transsexual/transgender people have gender dysphoria. Being non-binary, in my belief, doesn't fall into the trans space as being an actual trans person. Amanda, I completely agree with you. I am not in favor of this idea of separating the T from the LGB, because at the end of the day, the LGBT uphold the gender binary. Amanda transitioned, presumably, from being a man into being a woman. That upholds the gender binary, and so that is good. Queer is where you're going to find the non-binary people. The difference between, I had this epiphany this week because of the Barbie movie, of all things. The difference between queer and trans is that trans upholds the gender binary because you're transitioning from a man to a woman or a woman to man, but you still acknowledge that the gender binary is a thing, whereas queer seeks to abolish the gender binary. This is what makes queer different from the LGBT. Queer is a far left political ideology that fundamentally seeks to undermine the gender binary as a way to destabilize our system so they can blame the destabilization on capitalism so they can usher in their Marxist utopia. Because as we know, the 4 goals of the woke left are always and forever the same: gain as much power as possible, which they've already done, destabilize the system, which they're working on now, attack capitalism by blaming capitalism for all the problems that they themselves created by destabilizing the system, and then ushering in their Marxist utopia as an alternative. Trans, a lot of people are conflating trans and queer. Trans and queer are not the same thing, because one of the two pillars that we need to uphold in order to make sure that the woke left does not win is the gender binary. Trans fundamentally upholds the gender binary, whereas queer, the specific objective of queer theory, queer Marxism, transgender Marxism, which is like transgender Marxism when they associate it with Marxism is basically queer. So don't pay attention to the transgender part. That's not what they actually mean. But queer seeks to undermine the gender binary by abolishing the gender binary, liberating people from gender. It is a fundamentally different thing than the LGBT. And what the queer activists have done is hijack the trans and LGBT movement in order to use it for their own purposes. So, Amanda, we appreciate you being here. Welcome. And I agree with you.
Things to lots of different people. And as Nick was hinting at, to me, being a they, them, being non-binary is the label that feels closest to no label at all. Mm-hmm. It is the place of freedom for me.
I have a note to you saying, I forgot to ask you if you want to take a break. And if you need one, it's totally fine. So, okay.
I do this for a living.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm hydrated. Okay, I got my water.
You're in good shape. Okay. So we have a pause in the questions. Is there somebody who wants to raise their hand and ask something, or is there something somebody
How
wants
about
to know?
you ask something and come with a prepared question
Wayside
list?
Folks know that we have ordered several copies of the book, and they will be at Wayside, and you are welcome to read them. They will be, I think they'll be at the campus by the end of the week. So yay!
They have a campus.
So
they have an entire campus. I'm actually gonna have to look into these people now. God damn it!
Oh, Deirdre has raised.
They have a fucking campus.
Hi, Jeffrey. Thank you for joining us tonight. So I am the program director for a young adult program with Wayside. And I have a coworker in the background too.
They have a presentation with Robin DiAngelo. Holy shit. They have a stream with Robin I miss Robin. Robin came back briefly for a moment, and I spy streamed that one webinar that Robin DiAngelo did when she made her comeback. But they have a webinar from 2 years ago with Robin DiAngelo. We might have to check that out at some point. Anyway, sorry. That was a side note.
And we work with a lot of transgender and non-binary young adults with this programming. They all have state services. We've kind of built up a reputation to be a support for those young adults. And as I'm sure most people find, one of the most important pieces of life is finding a community that you really feel supported in, seen in, safe in. I'm not sure how many resources you might know of in the general Boston area, but can you talk a little bit about how you maybe navigated finding your own community, or share any resources that you might have that the young adults could access?
Wow, when you said Boston, I do not live in Boston, and I've been there twice in my life. But I was a consultant for Elizabeth Warren's campaign for president.
Oh, really?
I was an LGBTQ consultant, so we met with the senator. There were 5, 6, 7 of us, and I was like the social media, personality on the council for her LGBTQ. And she's, of course, the senator up there. And in one of our meetings, she just started listing. This reminds me of Gamel too. At the beginning of our meeting,
I'm gonna have to clip that for later.
She just started listing the names of the Black trans women who had been killed so far that year. We just sat and listened, and So my experience of that area of the country is someone who is a dynamic, really wonderful person who has a heart of gold. So I don't know specific resources up there. It's you said it, it's essential to find a community. And can I ask you, young adult is 18 to something, 22?
We say about 18 to 25.
Yeah, great.
Sometimes we get 17, sometimes we get 26, but really that like first half of your 20s, you are emerging into adulthood, and we all know how tough those years can be, no matter the identity pieces that go into it.
Anyway, I have a theory that 24 is like the worst year of everyone's life. But that's a separate story. It is a time of
that's kind of true,
in a
honestly.
person's life.
I agree with
Away
that.
from certain things and toward other things.
I can get behind that.
And having that supportive community is essential.
It's actually 29 though. It's not 24, it's 29. You want to know why? Saturn return. Saturn return is a bitch for everyone. We have a Saturn return like once every 30 years. And basically, this is an astrology thing. Your Saturn return, your whole life gets fucked up and completely turned on its head. So 29. 29. All you 28-year-olds out there, it's about to hit you right in the ass. You'll get through it, but it sucks.
And the other piece you made me think of is finding ways so that the community can support an internal support system. Because that is the time to really get your skills of taking care of yourself in order, so that as you go into the next phases of life, you have that foundation. It's I mean,
yeah,
it's
a big balance of that personal, right? Internal work. Well, but I do think it's helpful to hear about some of, the conversations with Elizabeth Warren, and a good jumping off point to, I'm sure if myself or anybody else in this building really researched her and some of her campaign, I imagine she probably has a lot of resources available. So that is a helpful sticking point.
That actually is true. And she wrote several papers and worked with organizations and that sort of thing, and probably in that area. So that might be a hot tip for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeffrey, I want to tell you, you scared Anna Fulltup, who is
Why is she wearing a crazy ring?
Now worried about turning 24.
Is that in the chat?
Yes.
Oh God, this woman is
like,
not
with
anyone. What is wrong with her?
You'll build a lot of character at 24 years old. That's all. Nothing to fear.
Carissa has a question. Hi, Jeffrey. I've been following you since I was in middle school, and you were really important to me.
And I'm 35 now.
Really important on my own coming out journey throughout the past decade. My question is, I remember watching your interview on Newsmax when it happened, and I would love to hear about your ability to show grace to people who do not show you the same. Oh, this is great. This is a great question. Your kindness to such bigoted questions amazed me, and I find myself instinctively responding to ignorance with anger. Can you share anything about that experience? And Carissa has told you that I'm 21.
I didn't mean to scare everybody in the chat. What I said is not universal for everybody. So yeah, that experience. So many people think, and especially that style of TV, honestly, is about the drama. And so many people think of good TV is two people fighting with each other, especially in the cable news arena. And I went on and didn't fight. I went on, and by the way, if you're a cable news producer,
you know what? I'll say this. I did an interview like 2 years ago with like on a news station in the UK. What is it? GBH? Is that what it is? So I did this interview about like, they brought me on and they brought like a Black Lives Matter person on in the UK. And I was just like not in the mood that day. And I was like, I'm just not going to fight. I don't care enough to, like, I was kind of overdoing like media and stuff like that. And so I was just like, so basically they had this like staunch Black Lives Matter person on, and they had me, and I think that they thought that I was going to fight with the Black Lives Matter person because like I do like fiery shit on YouTube and stuff like that. But I was just not having it that day for some reason. I was like, like whatever. And so when I did the interview, they tried to get me fired up. And I was kind of like, well, the Black Lives Matter people might have some points about X, Y, B, and Z. I just see things differently because I think these things are problematic for a reason, X, Y, B, and Z. We might have some areas where we disagree. We might have some areas where we overlap. Like, I don't really care to fight, sort of thing. And the news anchor actually said in the interview, she said, we were expecting many more fireworks during this interview. And I was like, so I quite literally, they brought me on to fight with a Black Lives Matter person, and I didn't give them what they want. And they actually commented on it on the air, which is just bizarre to me. It's like, you brought me on because you thought I was a fiery bitch that would fight with a Black woman on your network. Like, that's kind of setting me up, isn't it? So moral of the story is, and I had to learn this lesson the hard way after I got in a fight with the BBC. Just if you do media, don't fucking fight with them. They're going to try to get you to fight with them. They want you to fight with them. That is the entire purpose of why anyone that does this sort of thing would be brought on. Just be chill, man. Just be chill. Don't give them what they want.
That clip was incredibly popular then and has gone viral several times after. And I think makes for something dynamic to watch because I was doing what I learned at the monastery. Forcing the other person to nail Jell-O to a wall.
Mm-hmm.
So to certain people, everything looks like a nail and a hammer will solve the problem. And they come after you and they try to, and if instead you morph around whatever they're coming at you with, bringing kindness, compassion, and peace of your own to the conversation, and the Jell-O slides off the nail, they have nothing to, there's no resistance for them to meet. I don't mean to make this sound like, oh, it was easy, you just turned it on, right? I lived at a Buddhist monastery, I studied Zen for 20 years. But if there's the hot tip I can get you that might sound surprising, it's the thing that was most helpful in that process was accepting my white hot rage. Accepting, because if you fight that you're angry, that will keep you tied up in knots for a very long time. If you accept, honor, consider the anger a guest, maybe some energy that has something to tell you about something, justice, perhaps, just a hint, you'll start to have a different relationship with it. And you'll be able to turn into Jell-O and meet people with your own dignity when they're not expecting it.
You have a question that kind of goes on that, and just you've sort of already answered it, but you might want to say more about your experience in the Buddhist monastery and how it's helped your personal journey. And don't worry, I'm going to come back to the question that was before that. It just rolled in, but the people who put the question in before, I'm getting to you.
Great. No, I'm having a great time. I love it. When I went to the monastery, I learned about Guan Yin. So I studied Soto Zen Buddhism. That's the kind Buddhism, if you don't know, has been all over the world and in various forms, and came eventually to the United States in the latter half of the 20th century, mostly in the latter half. And Guan Yin is an ancient figure. And I didn't know about this, but so we don't have gods or angels or divinity in that sense, but we do have stories and myths to talk about. And the thing about Guan Yin is that Guan Yin made a vow, an entity, a person, made a vow to not enter nirvana until every other creature, every other body was inside nirvana. We call that a bodhisattva. So it's somebody standing outside the door to nirvana.
He does know his stuff.
The door's over there. Is everybody in? Okay. All right. Guess I'll go in, and is the very last entity, person in nirvana. And to do that, so the mythology goes, Guan Yin would take any form necessary to get anyone closer to enlightenment, closer to nirvana, and would just go around, travel around, take any form, and do what was necessary to assist that person toward enlightenment, which means Guan Yin's non-binary. So in one story, it's a man. In one story, it's a woman. It's an old lady. It's a child. It's all over the place. And there are ancient statues, 2,500 years old, statues of Guan Yin as a genderless angel being. There are depictions of Guan Yin with breast tissue and
being genderless is not the same thing as being non-binary. Being non-binary is a political act. It is a political act of rejecting the gender binary in order to destabilize the system. What he's talking about with Guan Yin is more like we are all beings who are made up of both masculine and feminine energy. And that's true regardless of if you identify as a man or a woman or a they or anything else. Every single one of us has instances in our lives where we are masculine. That's a symbol for masculine. And we have instances in our lives where we are feminine. That is a symbol for feminine. And we can all kind of ascertain where these symbols come from. Masculine is penetrative. Feminine is receptive. I think you picking up what I'm putting down. Anyway, life is about balance. This is like a mindfulness thing. Life is about balance. Anytime you have a lot of masculine energy in one area of your life, you will inevitably have to balance out that energy with feminine energy in another area of your life. This is not the same thing as being non-binary, because non-binary is a fundamentally political act. So Jeffrey is appropriating something that is not relevant to the conversation at all.
Mustache. It is part of this mythology of Buddhism, as all the wonderful conversations I've been hinting at tonight. And learning that and making that connection helped me to become a full, honest, open human being. And frankly, helped me to face everything that I'm facing. Hate's getting worse, honestly. You may have noticed in the past few years.
Guys, I just want to note, for some reason, my StreamYard has disconnected from YouTube, and I can't see StreamYard chat in the comments or like anymore in StreamYard. So what that means is I can't display comments on the stream from the chat. So I'm sorry about that. I don't know what's going on, but I will say I can still see the YouTube chat. And so I am still monitoring it. I just can't display stuff on the screen. So I'm sorry.
Thank you. The Wood family has a question. What is the best way to be supportive as a cisgender person? Like, what if someone is being harassed on the subway? How can I help?
In that particular, be safe, please. You got to take it situation by situation. But in general, I would say speak up. It's a matter of using so if the bully is non-trans, which we're assuming they are, and so if the bully is cis and you're cis, there's sort of like cis talking that can happen amongst you. So get in there. It's, in other words, another way to phrase that is using your cis privilege, spending your cis privilege to protect trans folks. And I say, go for it. Go for it. The time when you were afraid that you would say the wrong thing and so you stay silent, that's done. We're over that time.
Jeffrey, another one of my terrific colleagues is asking a question. Caitlin, she is asking, hi, Jeffrey. Thank you for being here and speaking briefly about your experience with your own parents earlier on. When we work with LGBTQIA+ youth, we also work with their parents and their families. Can you speak more of what you would have wanted your parents to know about you when you were growing up, and ways that we can support families we serve to meet the needs of their youth?
You can let them know that having an LGBTQ kid, and especially a trans or non-binary kid, is the parent's invitation to get over their own schniz.
Schniz?
It is
schniz.
Just a hand stretched out to you to get over everything you were taught about what it means to be a man, what it means to be the perfect wife, what it means, what it means, what it means, what it means. And here you have this kid who is exploding all of that. And it's your invitation to grow as a human being. And a lot of people resist it. So as the person who's in the middle of that, I would say, do your best, please. Another Jeffrey answer, be kind to yourself, because you may meet resistance in the parents, and that's not your fault. You can't magically turn it for them. But one thing you can do is encourage them to see it as a gift.
Jeffrey, I have a follow-up question. We a couple months ago, we had a training really talking about queer youth and parents who have a religious or experience in their life that makes it really hard for them to support their child. And we have those kids in our care, and sometimes those kids are not out to their family because of safety, because they feel like if they were out, they would not be welcome to live in their home. They might be homeless, they might be at risk.
Yep.
Can you speak about that and just talk about that kind of, sorting that through a little bit? And then I also want to, you don't have to do it now, but give you an opportunity to speak directly to any youth who might be with us today, what you would want to give to them.
Oh, of course. Can I do that first? Because that's the fun one.
Sure.
Oh, he's speaking to youth. Oh, God.
Youths on the Zoom.
Oh, God.
Thank you. I often speak to school groups, elementary, middle, high school groups, and I'll go give speeches, and it's supposed to be, I'm this adult LGBTQ person, and I'm inspiring the youths.
This is where it gets creepy.
But it never works that way. I always get inspired. Because with this youngest generation, I can walk into the room and nobody has an issue with me. They don't get the look on their face. They don't get confused. They don't get aggressive. They don't even think or talk about it at all. And we can talk about other things. And it's just a weight off my shoulders. So my message to youth is thank you. I don't know how often people say that to you, but I'm going to say the third time. Thank you.
Hang on. I know people are going to say that was creepy that he was talking to kids, but what Jeffrey just said isn't actually wrong. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's not grooming. It's not any of those things. So I think of all the messages that Jeffrey could have delivered to the youth watching on this call, that was actually probably a pretty tame message. Like, thank you for being understanding and accepting of who I am. And how I present. As though that's any of your business. Right?
So much. I appreciate it. Now, you might have noticed, Amy, that I'm opinionated. Did that come across?
I love this. I love this about you.
I've always found it so strange. So my mom, I also write about this in the book. My mom is a Lutheran pastor. And one thing
Andre in the chat says, why does a 35-year-old creepy human need to talk to kids? Because he was asked to. He's getting paid for this. Don't blame him. And I know I'm misgendering because I'm not using the they, but I think I'm over that now. I've had a 9% alcohol content beer. I'm sorry, Jeffrey. Blame my audience. They got me drunk. All right. Jeffrey was asked to give a message to the youth. He is paid to do this. That's why he was talking to youth. Like, you can't ding someone because they were paid probably into the 5 figures. Jeffrey probably got paid at least 5 figures. Probably around at least $25,000, if not more. Probably more, but I think the minimum that Jeffrey probably got paid for this was $25,000. If someone asks you a question, when you're paid $25,000 for an hour and a half of your time, you fucking answer the question, okay? Like, I mean, it is what it is, you know? Do people pay that much? Oh yeah, they do. $25,000 for like a professional develop. See, this is why I always say, like, it's laughable to me that people think I'm a grifter. I was a corporate trainer before I did this. I was a corporate fucking trainer. I was paid to give keynotes at conferences and corporate events. Do you have any fucking idea how much money I could be making right now? But no, I'm here with you talking about unwoke stuff because I sacrificed my cash cow to be accused of being a grifter every goddamn day on the internet when I literally could be making 5 figures giving a fucking 1-hour keynote talk. I don't want to hear anything else about it. No, but people really do pay that much. That's real. $25,000 for someone with Jeffrey's platform is like a minimum. It's not even a high point. Dylan Mulvaney, I think, is up to $45,000 now for 1 hour. 1 hour. That's corporate training rates. My speaking rate, I'm much lower than when I was doing this. My corporate rate started at $8,000 for a 1-hour talk. And there were things that were above that. But like that was the starting rate. Because I didn't have the platform Jeffrey did when I was doing corporate training. But I still made, like, that's a metric ton of money. You're telling me $8,000 for a talk isn't a lot of money? That's a lot of fucking money. I'm sorry.
My mom went through that actually was.
Hang on. Bethan with the super chat. I'm sorry I can't display it on the screen, Beth, but StreamYard is not cooperating right now. I can't see super chats on the screen, but I will thank Beth graciously for the $20 super chat. See, this is why I spill my, I'm like, I could be making thousands of dollars doing corporate keynotes right now, and I'm here with you guys on YouTube, and I'm accused of being a grifter, even though I could be making thousands of dollars doing corporate keynotes. and Beth is like, here's $20, Carlin. Beth, thank you. Beth says, here's 20 for having some freaking integrity. I do try, Beth. Thank you, Queen of the Chat.
Was a joy to, and I have wonderful memories around, is facing misogyny in the church when she was becoming a pastor. I distinctly remember her. So I was in high school when she was in seminary. And I remember a day when she came home and said at seminary, they told her to speak lower. They said, if you're going to preach, you got to talk like this. And I remember her imitating it when she came home, because they told her no one will take a woman seriously preaching. And I also remember how angry she was. Now she went in, she told me anyway, she went in that next day and gave them a piece of her mind, and, you know, and on and on. And she became a pastor, and she never moderated her voice, even though they told her to do so. And I think about that story when people bring up religion, and how odd it is to me that you would center things around a God whose job it is to hate people. Just as simple as that. It just doesn't
I kind of agree with Jeffrey on that. My God loves everyone unconditionally. So
I have a lot of
I kind of agree with him on that.
And a lot of Christians who follow me. And for some reason, those folks, their Christianity can blossom and flower in a way that includes people like me. And I know this because they say so. They actually, weirdly enough, tell me often that I remind them of Jesus. And I'm not, you know, bragging with that comparison. I think they recognize, you know, the Jesus that they know about is unconditionally loving, and that's the direction I'm working toward myself. That's what I'm trying for myself. And so I don't know why you wouldn't have a God that would be unconditionally loving.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question? Is that what you're? I went on a little bit of a tangent there.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Okay, I have another question. Oh, this is the fantastic Allison Parks asking a question. We work with several school districts that all have different degrees of acceptance for non-binary youth. Can you share what?
Anytime you hear an organization like this saying, we work with several different school districts, the very next question is going to be, what school districts do you work with? And what are you showing them? And can we FOIA those school districts right now that you're working with? I wonder if that's on their website, what school districts they're working with in Massachusetts.
What advocacy you've done with educators and how we can replicate
it? It is sad. Some teachers are jerks. Some principals are small-minded. This is not news to anybody. That is really one of the great disappointments in my life, because you would hope in a job like that you would be one of the most open-minded people on the planet. And I would hope that you would be. You have to, here's my hot tip, meet people where they are. And I know that I've said a lot of opinionated things, but if I was working with a group of faculty, which I
can't show this on the screen, but Zuzu Thorns asked in the chat, is there a positive dialogue to be had with Jeffrey? Oh, sure. Of course. Like I said, like earlier in the stream, and maybe you weren't here, Zuzu, I think Jeffrey has probably been, this is an unfortunate freeze frame. I didn't mean to freeze frame on this. Jeffrey's eyes look crazy right now in this freeze frame. Anyway, Jeffrey has probably been through horrific bullying and abuse in his life, both from his family and from the kids he went to school with. And so I actually do think there's a lot to learn from Jeffrey about like how you not only survive a childhood and an adolescence in which you have undergone horrific bullying, but how do you thrive out of that? Because, you know, like, listen, guys, like him or not, Jeffrey Marsh is insanely successful. Jeffrey Marsh is what the world considers to be a success story. Jeffrey Marsh is making money hand over fist just being Jeffrey Marsh. So you can't deny that Jeffrey Marsh came from a horrific childhood and adolescence and channeled that into doing something that the world at large considers to be valuable. Oprah did the same thing, by the way. Oprah came from a horrific childhood in which Oprah was abused, sexually abused, and Oprah channeled that abuse in her childhood to create a billion-dollar empire. So there's a lot to be learned from Jeffrey. I'm sorry, there is. I mean, the amount of scrutiny that Jeffrey faces, and again, I want to remind people, there is no actual evidence that Jeffrey Marsh has actually done anything wrong. I don't believe that Jeffrey Marsh has done anything wrong. I think Jeffrey Marsh genuinely wants to help kids that are in unfortunate situations like he endured in childhood. And until there's actual evidence that Jeffrey Marsh has done something wrong, like, I don't want to hear about it. I just don't. There's a lot that you might not agree with Jeffrey, and there's a lot that I don't agree with about him and what he does. But to say that we can't learn from him, of course we can. He's wildly successful. Millions of people follow him. Hang on his every word. If you're not learning from people like this, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Do sometimes. And somebody was having
I'm gonna get my coconut seltzer.
A real moment
Hang
and
on.
a real hard time. What I would do is ask them about it.
Oh, sorry.
What's hard about it?
Coconut sizzle.
We so often don't listen to each other. And oftentimes being able to be listened to and respected.
Ooh, that 9% sour has
able
hit me
to
quite
mention
fierce, I'll tell you
things
what.
That help bring things into
Which is
perspective.
why I need to
and
drink
help
more.
them to click. Help things to click for them.
Just exploded.
Every person, this is a Buddhist thing, every person is a set of projections. So
True.
technically you don't know that I really exist.
Coconut
I could be
goodness.
not here.
It's like a
But
pina
one thing we
colada.
do know is I am a set of your opinions of me.
Oh, so good.
And the
Cheers,
same
guys.
thing is true for a teacher and an LGBTQ kid. That kid is a set of opinions to that teacher.
That beer's good.
And so
It's
what I
really
would
good.
say, listen to them. And if you can, just guide them a little bit towards seeing the full humanity and getting through those projections.
Amanda, I'm so sorry. I skipped your question. Okay, so this is Amanda's question.
We are free flowing. We can go back.
I love the Buddhist mythology you shared. From another faith perspective, there's actually a verse in the Bible of Ecclesiastes, I hope I'm saying that right, that says there is nothing new under the sun. And I always come back to that when fellow friends of faith say that gender diversity is a new phenomenon, and remind them that people have been created fully diverse in God's image.
Yes. And always have been. There's evidence and stories and writings from ancient societies. So we know that much, but certainly when people were running around as cave people, I was about to list what they were doing, but I'm not an anthropologist, running around hitting boars with clubs and building fires. When we were hunter-gatherers, gender roles were totally not what they are today, obviously, right? Mm. This is so fun and fascinating to me, and so much what it brings up for me is so much of spirituality has to do with LGBTQ-ness, which is the great irony, because in recent history anyway, the religions and the folks who have claimed spirituality have been very anti-LGBTQ, which is a shame.
Yeah, Jeffrey, I'm trying not to talk too much because I'm a talker, but what you last said, I just want to say I super agree. I'm fortunate enough to have 3 beautiful children, and one of my children is transgender, and they are definitely the most spiritual child I am
shocked.
And has a totally close relationship with a higher power of their own understanding that is pretty magical to watch, pretty special, and has sort of always been around, like a sureness about it it's very lovely.
I'll tell you why you made me think of one last thing, if I may.
Go. Yeah.
Number one, aren't you the host?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I think you can talk. It's okay.
Oh, I can talk.
Yes, I think you can talk. And I think you can talk.
My wife is on the call. She's right now being stop talking at you.
No, it's beautiful. What is different now is more people are being open.
Yeah.
That's why people are like, this is a trend and this is a new thing and na. We've always been here. And now it's getting easier to survive and be out and be open and be yourself. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, when this is going to sound funny, but it's not a joke. When people stopped thinking that left-handedness was satanic, when left-handedness became more socially acceptable, the number of left-handed people rose in the United States.
Right. Yeah.
We're seeing the same graphs in the same way now with LGBTQ, with trans people and non-binary people specifically. Yeah. Because it's more permissible, because to be yourself is more allowed. But yeah, sure, we've always been here.
Okay, we have 2 hands, and I also have a direct message that I want to get to first before I go to the hands, because it's from a 19-year-old person who is non-binary. And first, they would like to know your TikTok handle because you are inspiring them and they would like to follow you. And
you don't know already?
Wow. And also,
go ahead.
And also they would like to ask you how to suggest they should be around their Brazilian grandparents. There is no they, them in Portuguese, which hurts when they are addressed as she. They are afraid of being rejected if they come out as non-binary to their grandparents.
Yeah, and you said this friend is 19?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so if you were under 18 or you were a kid, I would talk about this in a different way. But you might want to ask parent if the generation is around. That's between.
It sounds like yes. It sounds like yes.
You might want to ask parent to do some navigating, do some checking, feelers, that kind of thing with the grandparents. In this case, and what I would do is ask, instead of being afraid that they are the ultimate arbiters or gatekeepers, I would invite them in. So instead of a calling out energy, it's a calling in energy. And I would invite them in with something like, would you come up with a nickname with me that you can call me? And we'll use that. And just find a way to make it all work so that it's a team effort. Because the dynamic of I'm going to come out and you're going to reject me or not, that's a danger zone for everybody involved.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Roz, the Jeffrey Marsh on TikTok.
The Jeffrey Marsh.
Yeah, my name with the in front of
Jeffrey Marsh.
On TikTok.
Yeah, but if you search Jeffrey, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's gonna show up. It's
gonna. One of the biggest accounts, so it's all right. Yeah, you'll find me.
Yeah, I was able to impress my youngest child by telling them that you were coming on. Okay, so, okay, Roz, your hand was up. Also a fantastic colleague. Roz, you can speak now.
Sorry. If you hear my son in the back, he's autistic and he's screaming. So I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank y'all. Did I say it right? Thank y'all for coming. Did I say it right?
What do you mean say it right? It sounded great to me.
Okay. Thank y'all for coming. I really appreciate this.
Is that it?
My father, who grew up in the segregated South, could never ever came out. And I just, how much that bothered him. And he never came out to his family in the South, just we knew it, his kids and my mother, who was not very happy about it. So just growing up and just seeing that this can be an open conversation means so much to me. I can't, I can't say it enough. And somebody was saying something when somebody, I forget now because I was dealing with my son. Somebody saying something about say something if you see something. And when I do that, and I do that a lot because I have a big mouth, I say to people, what that person looks like to you has nothing to do with you, not a thing.
Yeah.
So again, this is, I have a loud mouth. And what bothers me the most is my brother died of alcoholism. My brother could not let go of the fact that my father was gay. It has nothing to do with you. And I don't know how to get that through people's heads that you be you, let me be me, let everybody be who they are. But I want to say thank you. I have to jump off though. I want to say thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, growing up Black and gay in the segregated South, that is something. Did you ever talk to him about it?
Nope, he didn't. No, we found, we knew it. We witnessed it. He had stuff, in his closet. He knew we knew, but no, they didn't discuss it. They didn't discuss much with us. And I not to preface this by saying
that's probably appropriate if we're honest about it.
So my dad's grandfather, my great grandfather, was born a slave. So don't talk about, they still, to this day, I have one uncle left and they don't talk about stuff. I was seen and not heard, a Gen Xer. So, so that I'm working hard to change that in the family dynamic. But yeah, so no, they didn't talk about anything. They didn't talk about it. Nope.
We sometimes talk about intergenerational trauma, but the trauma of slavery, the trauma of Jim Crow laws, the trauma of that all folks went through Black people went through during the civil rights movement. right? All of this compounding, and to personally, you didn't say this, but to be afraid to come out, maybe, is, yeah, thank you for that story. That is, it's so important for people to remember to just be kind to other people.
And I didn't mean to make this about race. I'm sorry. That wasn't my.
No, I did
say that preference. So
I made it about that because that's such an important part of the story, and it is an important part of what your father was dealing with and went through, in addition to being LGBTQ in the United States of America in the early 20th century. So thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. And thanks for having a loud mouth. I appreciate it.
So I'm just going to say a couple of factual things. We have 7 minutes left with Jeffrey, who, maybe, wants to say something to round out at the end. So I'm just going to mention that. I had a hand up. I just don't remember the person's name. And I have 2 more questions in the chat. So I'm just letting people know where we are. Who was the hand?
The hand was Jade Diaz. Jade,
I bumped it by accident. I was going to do meds and hit my keyboard. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No worries. Do you have anything you want to say, Jade? You're good. You're good?
No, sorry. I'm doing meds.
Okay, fine. I appreciate that you are multitasking. Okay, Caitlin says, what are some of your favorite social media accounts you follow to help continue the conversation and enhance the learning?
Oh my.
Oh, wait, and there's more to that. I'm going to let you think about both at the same time. I'm sorry, this one goes with it though. What are some of your favorite movies and TV shows with non-binary characters? Which is a fun question. So I'll let you think about that, and I'll just talk for a minute so you can think about it. And then Jay Cohen says, do we have to stop? And it is a question, but yes, we do, because Jeffrey has only committed this amount of time. Okay, that was my stall for you to think of things.
There are so few non-binary characters, and it is sad that TV is lacking in this particular way. I will broaden it out very slightly and say that I worship and love Laverne Cox. Always have. Anything Laverne's doing, I'm there. And of course, Pose was amazing as well. The whole cast of Pose. And I've had the great good fortune to work with some of them. Never worked with Laverne, but really amazing people. So if anyone's not watched Pose, I would watch the whole thing. And the beginning part, I'm forgetting, was about taking care of myself. What tools do I use?
No, that is a good question, but that isn't what was asked. The question was, what are favorite social media accounts you follow to help continue the conversation and enhance the learning?
Yes, I would particularly follow parents of LGBTQ kids. And I say that because it's healing for you, for anybody, to see parents being fully accepting and facing the hate and that sort of thing. But also, it is healing for you to witness people being imperfect on social media. It's something I try to do to sort of show all the edges and all the learning experience parts. And for me, seeing parents grow and learn, there's something particular and special about that. So I would seek those out. Those are healing and wonderful for me.
Okay, we have 4 minutes of the time. Okay, so Brianna says, thank you so much for holding space for us tonight. Leigh Cohen, they, them, says, I just read a book called Different Kinds of Fruit for tween-aged folks, and it was really. So I don't know really what, but I'm going to guess positive because they were mentioning it, but who knows? There is also Gamal who, by the way, is just like Elizabeth Warren in many ways, because they both always have a plan. However, there is putting the survey in the chat. We would love to hear what you thought about Jeffrey and trainings like this. And I don't want to take any more of your space. We have 3 minutes left if you wanted to do any kind of wrap up. I'm just going to say, oh my gosh, this is really a dreamy night. Thank you so much for everything you've given us. Now stop talking.
You don't have to stop talking. I know you're trying to be, gracious and step aside, and that was very lovely of you. And your voice is important too, of course. So I think the last thing I want to say for our 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes is thank you. Thank you all for who you are. Thanks for being here. Thanks for talking about all these things. And as we've hinted at a couple of times, hate is getting more, not less right now. And these things cycle out throughout history and throughout time, but racism, queerphobia, misogyny, all of them, hating on disabled people, all of them are really going through the roof. And having a heyday, being seen as not just okay, but just being celebrated. So I bring that up to say thank you. It is actually not often that someone like me gets to speak and share my story. And Amy read that beautiful, delightful bio that I have. I've been able to do a lot of things in my life and be known by a lot of people, but still to this day, it takes a very special group to want to hear from someone like me. Still true now. So to me, that says something about who you are as human beings. And it says something about what your hearts are like, your willingness to be here, and just you've done my heart so good today. Getting to meet you, getting to meet some of your kids in the background of your Zooms, and getting to bask in some of your delightful, good, vibrant, loving, unconditional, kind energy. It really, don't tell anyone, I love making videos, but this is really my favorite thing to do. It's been a delight and a pleasure to connect one-on-one and heart-to-heart. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey.
I'm going to go cry.
Appreciate it. Oh, really
I have my
appreciate
tissues
it.
around here somewhere.
Applause is all around.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
thanks so much.
Thank you, Wayfair, and thank you, Everett.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that we have other great trainings just like this, and we have on November 9th our training on sexual health and providing a safe space, which is a real continuation.
All right, it seems as though that is over, and I just want to say, guys, what you saw at that last little bit, Jen McMahon in the chat says, Dr. K, I'm kind of starting to find Jeffrey, and it might just be this interview, somewhat endearing. I really want everyone to take a lesson from this. Why Jeffrey Marsh gets paid an exorbitant amount of money to do those types of talks, why Jeffrey Marsh has a platform of millions of people, is that Jeffrey Marsh makes people feel seen, and he makes people feel loved, and he makes people feel accepted. It's not a trick. Jeffrey Marsh is actually very, very good at what Jeffrey Marsh does. And I think there's a lot to be learned from what Jeffrey does in terms of making people feel seen and loved and welcomed and accepted, because that's how you get people on your side. Okay? So I'm going to be honest. There was nothing about that talk I found objectionable. From Jeffrey. There was nothing about that talk I found problematic from Jeffrey. From the therapists who were in that talk, who were going to Jeffrey for mental health advice, that's not cool. That's not cool. You don't go to social media personalities for mental health advice about your kids. But that's not Jeffrey's fault. Jeffrey's job is to show up, to do a talk, to make people feel seen, to make people feel heard, to make people feel accepted, etc., 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 etc. And Jeffrey did that resoundingly. And if the conservative right had more people doing that instead of just shitting on Jeffrey Marsh and Dylan Mulvaney all day, perhaps they'd be farther along. I think there's a lesson to be learned here. All right, guys, that is all we have for tonight. I do just want to remind everyone that if you have not yet subscribed to my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com, this is the best way to support my work. It is the #1 way to get access to my very best content, which is not actually on YouTube. It is on Substack, and you can still sign up. You can always sign up for free. But if you want to support the work I'm doing and access the full archives of my content, you're going to want to sign up for $5 a month or $50 a year. That price will be going up on Tuesday because we only have a couple more days left in the month. So on Tuesday, that's going to go, I think it's Tuesday. I hope it's Tuesday. Hang on, I might be wrong about that. Let me look at a calendar real quick. Yes, Tuesday. On August 1st, the price on the Substack will be increasing from $5 a month to $8 a month, or from $50 a year to $80 a year. So if you want to support the work I'm doing and get access to the premium archives on Substack, as well as 2 supporter Zoom calls every single week, as well as the supporter Discord, where we will be watching Black Hawk Down. In the supporter Discord on Sunday evening, we have weekly movie nights. You can sign up for $5 a month, $50 a year for a couple more days. For those of you who are already supporters on Substack, you will be grandfathered in at your current price, so no one's prices are going up. But if you don't want to pay $8 a month and $80 a year, then you're going to sign up before Tuesday. All right, guys, that is all I have for right now. Thank you for hanging out for happy hour. I will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. 6. We go live 1 hour later on the weekends because it's my weekend too, all right, for Socialism Saturday. If you want your advanced AP class in all things far left dystopia, join us for Socialism Saturday at 6 p.m. Have a great rest of your night, all. Take care. We'll see you soon.